Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints Presents Lucifer Within Us. This is they call it a point-and-click adventure, but I don't really know sure how accurate that is, where you play a digital exorcist trying to solve a murder committed by cyber demons. Yeah, I know. The plot sounds out there, but I was able to take a look at this at PAX back in, it's PAX West 2019, I think, and this game definitely caught my eye, and I was interested in being able to play it when it fully came out, and it did just recently release. Let's go ahead and get the disclosure out of the way, so y'all know. A copy of this game was provided for free by the PR team, so thank you very much to that. It is made by Kit Fox Games, if you want to take a look at other games they have done. And, of course, I'll be going into this blind, like I typically do. Beyond the little bit I played at PAX over a year ago, and I'm sure the game has changed substantially by then. But beyond the premise and the idea of how the game's going to play, I really don't know what's going to happen. I've been told this is about 2 to 4 hours, so it could be as early as 1 hour, or it could take as long as 10, depending on how, I guess, bad I am at figuring out the puzzles. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns that you might want to ask about the game or the channel or anything in general, feel free to comment down below. And you all know, regardless if you watch at twitch.tv/GamePoints or youtube.com/GamePointsPC, what streamers like myself want. Bits, subscribes, likes, etc. So, now that we got that rigmarole out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the game and take a look at Lucifer Within Us. Oh, by the way, if you are watching over on YouTube and I'm talking to random people, I'm doing it on chat over at Twitch, so that'll be why. And anyways, how you doing there, Salty Frank? Let's go ahead and start a new Two Brothers case. Okay, so already, let me close my webcam here. Already, I'm wondering if there are going to be different cases, like cases broken into chapters, like the Two Brothers case, and then the case of the missing lamb, and then Papa's brand new bag or something like that down here. Which also begs the question if there will be extra DLC or something like that later. Because when you do a game in that style of format, it's very, I don't want to say easy to add on, but you definitely already have a natural pattern to add stuff on later. So something to think about if that is something that you're interested in. So let's go ahead and move right into it. Excuse me. 100 years without murder. 100 years without demonic possession, spelt with the classy A. Then this. I am Sister Ada, exorcist and investigator. This is my testament to the massacre at the St. Walpurga's Abbey. Not Walpurgis, Walpurgas. It is truth. Do not believe the lies of my accusers.
Sister Ada, welcome.
I'm glad that his voice, I was afraid I have to read it all.
I am Virgil, Chief Inquisitor at St. Walpurgis Abbey.
I'm definitely digging the art style here, especially that background right here. How it almost looks like a church organ, but it's not. Like, you can see this console here, and it looks like it would be where the keys of the organ were and everything like that. I really like that look.
We may be in need of your talents as an exorcist. You can survey the evidence yourself, but I think you will agree.
Has there truly been a murder?
It seems so. A respected priestess, Mother Miriam, passed this morning under suspicious circumstances. A demon may be present. Here, even now, possessing someone.
What happened exactly?
Mother Miriam was only recently appointed as successor to Abbot Gregory. This morning, she came to the workshop to receive her coronet of office.
Something went wrong with the installation.
Yes, to put it mildly, the coronet oversurged, killing Mother Miriam. Brace yourself for the sight.
Then the workshop operators, Gideon and Reuben, are the prime suspects. They are brothers, right?
I love the terminology. I'm already sold on the terminology. If I'm really digging it. I'm kind of distracted by how the text isn't popping up there fluidly, though. I know that's such a minor nitpick, but if you take a look at it, it kind of stutters a little bit sometimes. I hope you all can see it, and it's not just me.
Yes, but it's highly out of character for Gideon or Reuben to kill someone. Even so, they were the only ones present when Mother Miriam died.
I'll turn my camera off for 2 seconds. My apologies.
Daemons nurture our sinful desires into unthinkable actions, Virgil. One of the brothers has surely been seduced by a daemon. Whichever it is, I will unmask his lies and cast out the daemon within him.
May Einsoff's will be done. Amen.
To exorcise a daemon, we must uncover 4 things. First, the suspect. We must identify which sinner is possessed by a daemon. Second, the opportunity. When exactly was the murder committed? We can pinpoint the opportunity by analyzing each suspect's testimonies. Third, the means by which the murder has been committed. The means can be found among the physical evidence at the scene of the incident. Fourth, the motive of the murderer, which can be found in their inner world, their sanctum. The motive will tell us which daemon possesses the sinner.
Very well. Let us begin our holy work.
Alright, so this, I'm assuming, is going to serve as a kind of tutorial for everything that's going on here. Mother Miriam, victim. Newly appointed voice of Anne Soph, who was scheduled to receive an aether coronet implant at the workshop. So this is Holy Phoenix Wright. I would say it's more along the lines of the CSI side than the courtroom side. But yeah, you're kind of on track. Alright, not all of it is voiced. Gideon claims that the incident was an accident, but Reuben claims that it's Gideon's fault. Are either of them telling the truth? Perhaps there's another possibility. Okay, it's flashing all the interactables. So first things first, let's talk to people. Let's talk to Gideon, the younger brother.
This is madness! I will not suffer this injustice! I am Gideon the Grand, the greatest cybernetician of our generation. I am blessed. I don't know what went wrong this morning. My hands are guided by the divine.
I see only gaudy trinkets here. Mother Miriam died by your hands. Is that not so?
Oh, weird. They only, like, voiced the first part of it. No, why would I want to harm her? Mother Miriam was my patron. She loved me like a son. I did nothing wrong. The concentration chamber must have been compromised. Sister Ada here is to seek the truth, Gideon. You have nothing to fear if you are innocent. Please hear Gideon's testimony, Sister Ada, and the judge for yourself if he speaks true. Testimony of a subject is divided into events. Here's the tutorial. You can access some detailed descriptions of events by hovering over them. You can manipulate the timeline marker to navigate any moment in testimony. So it's a little bit like Premiere, where you kind of scrub through this timeline here and see what's weird and try to pick things out from that. If I understand, if it still follows the way it followed, or if it still followed the way it played back a year ago. Listen to what Gideon has to say. Okay.
Mother Miriam came to me for her consecration ceremony. I've performed this many times before, so I was confident.
Wow, this really is like Phoenix, right? With the accuse and the contradict.
To prepare for the ceremony, I ordered Reuben to take Mother Miriam to the consecration chamber. Meanwhile, I adjusted the coronet's amplitude.
Wait a second. Let's re-examine what he said about Miriam's arrival.
Mother Miriam came to me for her consecration ceremony.
Interesting. Gideon doesn't mention Reuben being present while greeting Mother Miriam. Let's select Miriam's arrival and ask Gideon about it, okay?
Mother Miriam came to me for her consecration ceremony. I've performed this many times before, so I was confident.
Let's ask. Good. I should remember that I can ask suspect about any statement in the testimony. Alright. So if I highlight this, let's see. Unverified, corroboration, no. Specificity, no. Okay. Were you alone when greeting Mother Miriam? Yes, I'm certain I was alone then. He insists that he was alone. I wonder if Reuben will corroborate this. For now, let's finish hearing the rest of the story. Okay, if it's testimony. Okay. Let's scrub it up to here.
To prepare for the ceremony, I ordered Reuben to take Mother Miriam to the consecration chamber. Meanwhile, I adjusted the coronet's amplification at my work table, and then placed it on Mother Miriam's head.
Okay, we're gonna watch this whole thing here. We don't get to see what's going on here because he wasn't looking. We have like line of sight stuff, if you noticed. Okay, now we're getting to the prayer.
We began by closing our eyes and praying together to Ein Sof. I thought I heard the chamber open, but didn't think much of it.
Okay, hold on. You heard the door open? Perhaps. I think I also heard footsteps. It's a faint but vague memory. Not to mention it's impossible. After all, Mother Miriam can't open the door from within. Ruben's probably working on some other new device or another. Must have imagined it. You can like hear him in the background though. Yeah, that's the chamber door opening potentially. But his eyes are closed, so.
Then I activated the consecration chamber and began the ceremony itself. The aether output was within safe ranges.
Hold on. What about safe now? What makes you certain the ceremony was safe? Because I performed this many times. Okay. Oh shit, it is an organ. Okay, same thing. Fair enough. It is an organ. Oh, there she goes. Oh shit! Her head just blew up. Damn, her head just exploded. Alright. Well, that's, okay. Well, we can see if he was absolutely alone in here first, but goddamn, I didn't expect her just head to blow up. I also like that it actually was an organ. Go figure. Who knows how technology actually works.
An exorcist? Surely there are no demons here, though. This was an accident, wasn't it? If Gideon is possessed, that would mean he did it on purpose. Horrible.
You must be the elder brother.
Yes, my name is Reuben Garamond. I am responsible for the engineering and design of our implants.
How did Mother Miriam die, exactly?
It was a completely preventable accident. Mother Miriam died because Gideon deliberately flouted the ceremonial guidelines for his own glory.
Yeah, I guess heads might be able to explode on accident. Have you ever seen Scanners? It's just like that.
Gideon may be my flesh and blood, but he must take responsibility for his negligence.
Let's hear what Reuben has to say. Keep in mind, Reuben's testimony may differ greatly from Gideon's version of events. When events corroborated by another suspect's testimony, it would be marked as verified on the timeline. Okay. Let's listen to what Reuben has to say.
Mother Miriam came to us to receive a consecration ceremony, but she wanted something extravagant.
So yeah, this is already
The
different.
coronet to have maximum ether output. I warned him that doing so is highly dangerous.
Hold on, so, pause. Oh, I'm gonna have to actually listen to the whole thing first, I think. Yeah, I can't just, like, pause it right away. That already contradicts this, though.
To move forward with the ceremony anyway, since he was going to handle everything. I went back to my tasks.
Okay. This part of his testimony is rather long and repetitive. Let's move to the next section and try to stop ceremony. Alright, so we'll scroll through it just to see if there's anything unusual. Goes into prayer. He might be able to see him, like, get up and go. No, he... So that door does open, and he does see the brother there. Let's go to right about here.
When Gideon activated the concentration
I want to roll that
chamber,
back up to
I
the very
immediately
beginning.
felt something was wrong. I begged Gideon to stop, but he didn't listen.
Hey there, Ned Buttercup. Thank you very much for the rather large raid. Truly appreciated. Jesus Christ, her head just explodes again. Hey, how's it going, my friend? I know you've been in here before, Ned. I can't remember from what, but I recall seeing your name before. Okay, let's leave. Alright. Now, I think we've heard the testimony for you, so let's think carefully. For those who don't know, by the way, this is Lucifer Within Us. It's been described by someone else in chat earlier that this is essentially a cyber phoenix rite. For the most part, you're trying to find contradictions in people's testimony as you exorcise cybernetic demons from them. I know it sounds weird, but I'm definitely digging it so far, although I haven't played too much of it yet. There's only one truth to the chain of events this morning, and I doubt either brother has told it to us. By the way, this is also the intro of the game, so it's very tutorially at the moment. We must rely on Ansof's great gifts to guide us, our minds. There are three ways we could consider what we've discovered. The first way is deduction. Since there can only be one truth, if two things don't lie, one or both of them are false. If Gideon and Reuben do not agree on something, someone is lying. Or, what if they say they do not match the evidence I find? Then they must be lying. Makes sense? The second is induction. I should use my base theory based on what to discover. If my theory doesn't align with any of the testimonies or evidence I find, then I should discard it. If two theories are possible, then I should prefer the one that has more information than supports it. That said, induction alone is not usually enough. Finally, abduction. I must hypothesize. I can't talk today. What could have happened, filling in gaps in information with my imagination. This is the fastest and most powerful way of thinking, but also the most fraught. I should engage in each of the three ways in order to uncover the truth. Okay. So first things first. I want to talk to this guy.
Mother Miriam came to me for her consecration.
Yeah, stop.
I've performed this many times before, so I was confident.
You said you were alone, but your brother is here. How can I contradict this? I don't know. The prayer has been corroborated. We have that list up because he could actually see him praying there. We both see the corroboration of Miriam dying. My head's in the way. Let me turn that off real quick so you guys can see it. It looks like when it's yellow, something's been corroborated at least. So that's good.
I thought I heard the chamber open, but didn't think much of it.
Okay, so that we definitely know. Oh man, what was I gonna look at? I just flat out don't remember. I was gonna look at something.
Mother Miriam came to me for
Okay, let's leave. Let's take a look at stuff floating around. Let's take a look at what we got going around here. So we definitely have this. The coordinate limiter, a valuable piece of physical evidence. A new entry is now added to your evidence panel, which can be found in the lower left. That way. Let me turn my camera back on. There we go. Okay, lower left, right here. There you can access detailed information about the coordinate limiter. You must present them to the suspects in order to discover any contradictions. Okay. Found in Gideon's workspace in pristine condition, component is required to safely install the coordinate without causing an Aether oversurge, which is what happened and blew the chick's head up. Okay. Okay, I'm into this so far. I get it. What do we got here? One, place the coordinate in the recipient in the chamber. Performer and recipient pray in silence. Begin the song and start modulating the Aether. Intensify Aether output by bringing the performance to a crescendo. Okay. That seems to be what happened so far. What do we have here? Let's take a look at his workstation. Coronet blueprints. Plans for constructing the Aether Coronet. The purpose of the device seems to amplify the user's Aether output. Its components are amplifying, casing, and a limiter. Okay. I have the limiter. Let's take a look at this. Used to activate and control the concentration chamber's usage records show that the Aether output during the ceremony was well beyond safe ranges. Now, Gideon said it was safe, so we need to confront him about that. But while we're here, let's go take a look at the the poor Mother Miriam. Body is completely unharmed, but her head has exploded into a mess of blood and bone fragments. Found in Mother Miriam's body, parts of the amplifier coronet and bits of the casing have survived the explosion. So, wait a minute. Wait a minute. If the blueprints, if the device needs an amplifier, casing, and limiter, but the remains are only the casing and the amplifier, and the limiter was found over here, someone took out the limiter, which tracks with the fact that she wanted something grand, and he was like, okay, we could do that. So he took out the limiter. And yes, exactly, Salted Frank. That's what happens when the implant chip and C4 get mixed up. That's why you don't keep your Play-Doh and your plastique on the same table together. Because trust me, when you eat one, it's delicious. When you eat the other one, it's not so much. All right, let's talk about this. Select any evidence and ask him about it. All right. Let's ask about this limiter here. Recognize this component, Gideon? It was found at your workstation. The coordinate limiter. Impossible, but the explosion. How can it be undamaged? Someone must have removed the coordinate prior to the ceremony. All but ensuring the ceremony would end in a bloody mess. I had nothing to do with this. Why would I sabotage my own work? Why indeed? Well, that is a good question, because
Mother Miriam came to me for her consecration ceremony. I've performed this many times before, so I was confident.
how exactly do you operate the device? Do you press the keys much like a normal organ? That's a crude way to phrase it. There's much artistry in the performance. The rhythm and the melody of my music affects how the energy is transferred into the implant. Okay. My masterwork. It was perfectly fitted to Mother Miriam's brow. Even in pieces, you can see the sublime beauty of my artistry. But this can't be all you found. Where's the limiter? Limiter? There was a safety device? The other limiter was supposed to protect the coronet from an oversurge. Additionally, it was the crown jewel of the coronet. I suppose it's shattered. Damnation. Gideon claims the other output values within safe ranges, but the control panel indicates otherwise. So let's contradict this shit right here. It's not quite Phoenix Wright objection when you're pointing at it, but it's the same idea. You lied, Gideon. The ceremony wasn't safe. The control panel records show that the other output values were in abnormally high ranges. Of course it was. Mother Miriam wanted the coronet as powerful as it could be. But I am Gideon the Grand. With my talents I had under control, I made no errors. This game really captured the condescending tone of religious people very well. It does, it does. I like the character of Ada so far, too, because she definitely seems like she reeks of actual Inquisition to me, and I'm into that. Like, the whole, like, no, I am here to find out what the hell happened, and you will submit. I like her authority. I like the authority around her. So far. So far. Something else went wrong. I just don't know what. Gideon has amended his testimony. Let's examine maintain control. Sure, okay. Good. Statement from Gideon's testimony is now verified for 2 reasons. 1, specificity. I can't pronounce that word. It has a shorter time frame and describes a clearer set of events. So it's very specific. 2, physicality. Gideon's testimony now is consistent with the records of the control panel. I can assure you that any verified statement like this is true. What's more, the contradiction weakened the suspect's resolve. His eye of providence glows, which allows me to enter his sanctum, the digital representation of his mind. So you have to shake their confidence enough to be able to, like, force your way into their brain. Okay. Let's use this third eye to enter the sanctum and see what truly motivates the suspect. Yeah, we can do that. Okay, he's a narcissist. We've only cracked the outer layer of his sanctum this time. Still, let's examine the psychological evidence we have found. There we go. Some of the statements are now supported by the suspect psychology, so his rival is definitely narcissistic. Correlation between substance behavior and existing demons. Let's open the daemon log. The daemon Luki. We have Lucifer the Proud here. Prince of Daemons, the eternal adversary of Divine Self. Manifests in the ambitious and strong will, promise them the heart's desire in exchange for their soul. Okay. Beelzebub the Gluttonous. Simple-minded demon that debilitates the host. Turn him into feral beasts. The host is compared to consumed stranger and filthier things till nothing remains of their humanity. Sathanas the Vengeful. A furious demon that strokes simmering rage within the hosts. Preys upon the fervent and the righteous, goading them to make matters into their own hands. Lotan the Envious. Playful but deceitful demon who slowly drives those mad with whispers of their own inadequacy. Those blames others for their ill fortune until the apparent injustice drives them to take what's rightfully theirs. Okay. So far, this reeks of Lucifer the Proud. Good to know. If the subject is possessed, there should be a psychological evidence that's clear correlation with the demon. To obtain further psychological evidence, I must find more contradictions and present them to the suspect. So that is the Phoenix Wright thing, right? You catch them up in lies, they make more lies to counteract their lies, and as you constantly unweave their story, you start seeing the inside of them. Only in this case, it has the added twist of figuring out what demon is in them as well to cleanse them free of sin, brothers. Or whatever the game has you do. Now that I've heard the testimony gathered, I can accuse the suspect. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and just accuse him, I guess. I didn't know we were going to go right to that, but here we are. To accuse the suspect, I must establish the opportunity, the means, and motive of the crime. I can try as many times as I wish, but there's only one true answer for each section. Okay, so you're not going to end a fail state in the game if you screw this up, it sounds like. Let's try to establish opportunity, okay? Let's present a section of the suspect's testimony. Opportunity. If it's a valid answer, the suspect will be forced to admit they could have committed the murder at this time. Otherwise, the suspect will give a counter-argument as to why that's impossible. When could I have possibly harmed Mother Miriam? You performed the ceremony yourself. This gave you ample opportunity to hurt her. Yes, I performed the ceremony, but I did nothing that could have harmed her. Let's try means. Need physical evidence. Good. Same as before, the suspect will accept my evidence if it's valid, and deny it if they can't explain why I'm wrong. While you were adjusting the coordinate, you removed the limiter. That's nonsense. Do you really think I would forget to replace the crown jewel of my masterpiece? By what means are you claiming I killed her? Okay, that didn't work. How about the coordinate? Finally, it's established motive. So I don't think I actually got the right means on that. I need to present psychological evidence from their own sanctum. So he's a narcissist. I loved Mother Miriam. Why would I hurt her? You're a self-absorbed man. Everything you do feeds into your pride. To you, Mother Miriam was a mere prop for your masterpiece. You carelessly caused her death in pursuit of your artistic glory. How dare you? I took the utmost care in everything I did for Mother Miriam. The coronet was designed to be worn by her. Without her, it would remain imperfect. I would never risk anything that could harm my work or Mother Miriam. Okay, so that didn't seem to work out. The accusation was unsuccessful, which means I must investigate further. Let's cancel for now and leave the subject. Alright.
Then I rose up, opened my eyes, and approached the control panel. I was ready to begin.
Let's take a... wait, what was that back there? Did you hear or notice anything at this time? Come to think of it, I thought I heard something behind me. I don't remember exactly. My mind was focusing on the ceremony. Okay.
The aether output was dangerously high, but I had the chamber under control.
I hope this exorcism is performed by holy fire in this. It might. You might just burn the dude alive.
It happened. Mother Miriam was killed. The aether output.
So hold on. He kind of comes around like this. You see him coming around like this. So the brother is kind of lying to me here. So we'll see. Now you admitted the ceremony was risky. What makes you so confident that you maintain control? Because I'm a maestro. I remember every bit of my performance. Nothing that I did could have overcome the coordinate limiter. But the coordinate limiter was taken out. Okay, okay. God damn.
Mother Miriam was killed. But it's impossible.
Okay, okay, let's leave. Let's go talk to the brother here. Let's switch to... Gideon claims Reuben opened the door to the concentration chamber. Let's go back to Reuben.
Gideon convinced her to move forward with the ceremony anyway. Since he was going to handle everything, I went back to my tasks.
Yes, but... Let's talk about Order Reuben here. Got it! Reuben Garamond, you did not return to your workstation after the discussion. Gideon ordered you to open the concentration chamber for Mother Miriam. Ordered me? Is that what he told you? Despite his delusions, Gideon is clearly not my master. I did open the chamber, it's true, and I apologize for the omission. It's a regular part of our routine that slipped out of my mind earlier. Oh, you liar! What a dick. Okay. Verified for 2 reasons. 1, corroborated. Gideon's testimony confirms that Reuben opened the door for Mother Miriam. So they're both saying this happened now. 2, specificity. It has a shorter time frame and describes a clearer set of events. So it's very, very succinct. Okay, I'm into this. I'm definitely into it. I like this game so far.
They decided to perform the ceremony anyway. I opened the consecration chamber, while Gideon brought the coronet. Since Gideon was going to handle everything, I went back to my tasks.
What were you working on? I was restoring a ceremonial spear for tonight's mass. It's a magnificent relic. I think Abbot Gregory would be pleased with it. Okay, that actually does match up with what we were looking at here. There was blueprints for a spear found on Reuben's workstation, plans for restoring a relic that was recently brought to the Saint Walpurgis by Father Augustine. This is what I was working on during the ceremony. Father Augustine, a visiting scholar, helped ask me to restore this relic. Hey there, Walrider, how you doing? A visiting scholar who studies daemons in the aether. Alright. Father Augustine is a scholar of daemons and etheric technologies. He made a truly remarkable discoveries in his theoretical works.
When Gideon activated the consecration chamber, I immediately felt something was wrong.
Why did you have Gideon ask to stop? Why not force him? Couldn't you open the chamber or push Gideon aside? Interrupting the ceremony would have been more dangerous. Had I opened the chamber, the energy would have been let loose into the workshop. Had I pushed Gideon away, no one would have been controlling the energy gathered within the chamber. In either case, my action would have resulted in greater catastrophe. Okay. Let's go talk to this.
High, but I had the chamber under control.
Okay, we saw that already. Okay, we have this new guy here. Can ask him about the brother. Now, you say you had it under control, but once again, let's talk about this output. Okay, I already did that. Clearly missing something. Let's leave. Gone through the fundamental steps investigating the murder. However, there's much I have yet to uncover about this incident. I should continue to find more information, contradict suspects with them, and try to accuse one of them. No one will tell me when I'm ready to accuse. That's entirely up to my discretion. However, there are no consequences for a failed accusation. Much like the Royal Inquisition. I'll just kill people until I get it right. I'm down for that. Each fellow will help me bring closer to the truth of the incident. Alright, so. Let's see if I can't work on the brother a little bit here.
To me for her consecration ceremony. I've performed this many times before, so I was confident.
Certain you were alone then, but what about Reuben?
Gideon suggested setting the coronet to have maximum ether output. I warned him that doing so is highly dangerous.
Yeah, just shoot them all. Okay, hold on.
Mother Miriam came to me for her
Now, contradiction.
I've performed.
There we go. Yeah, you weren't alone. You were with your brother. Okay, that's how you do it. Lies. Reuben tells me he was with your mother. He was with you when Mother Miriam arrived. What? Huh. Come to think of it, yes, he was standing there, scowling as usual. He was not just standing there, he tried to stop you. Mother Miriam wanted her coronet to be extraordinary, so you convinced her to increase the ether output. Reuben warned you about the danger, but insisted to Mother Miriam that the ceremony was safe. I love my brother, but Reuben can be a sniveling coward. He's exaggerating the risk. Yes, the ceremony had some danger. However, it was well within my abilities. I made no error. That is how it happened. Alright. So it breaks us down into different parts now. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here since he has amended his testimony.
Mother Miriam came to me for her consecration ceremony. I've performed this many times before, so I was confident.
Okay. How about discussing the ceremony?
Mother Miriam wanted the coronet to be spectacular, so I suggested maximizing its aether amplification.
You meant to tell me you got the Quest 2. Really enjoying it, but the Infinite Office features are either overhyped and the articles describing it were supposed to be there, or they haven't been fully added yet. That is unfortunate. Okay, so all of this has...
To prepare for the ceremony, I ordered Reuben to take Mother Miriam to the consecration chamber.
Why have Reuben do this? Why not open the chamber yourself? I did not want Mother Miriam to have to wait too long. Besides, menial work is good for Reuben anyways. But, wait a minute. If he was working on the spear...
They decided to perform this.
To prepare for the ceremony, I ordered Reuben to take Mother Miriam to the consecration
okay.
chamber.
Okay. That's a good battery life, if that's the case there. If it's been spent 12 hours in it and it's still, like 100% for controllers, that's good battery life. Okay.
Meanwhile, I adjusted the coronet's amplification at my work table, and placed it on Mother Miriam's head.
So this is now different. What exactly do you modify? Modify the amplifier to its maximum settings. To do so, I had to temporarily remove the limiter. Wait a minute. Didn't you just tell me that there's no... Oh, but I made sure to replace for taking it to chamber. Well, you didn't. It was sitting right here. Yeah, he already said that. So let's... I have no idea. Okay, so I don't know... Because it was there. I mean, someone else could have put it in there afterward, I guess, is what he's talking about. We need to... If I go contradict and present this... Okay, okay, fair enough. Let's go to maintain control. Because it did say it was dangerously high. Well beyond safe ranges. Okay, okay. I am clearly not seeing something. Let's leave this alone for right now. Let's talk to the brother again. I wonder if it counts as a demonic murder if it's an accident but caused by sin by Lucifer's pride. I would imagine in this society, that is still murder. From the vibe I'm getting here.
Since Gideon was going to...
What were you working on? Restoring a ceremony spear. This spear? Yeah, okay. That spear. But you also had the coordinate blueprints up. Now, during the prayer, he did say you moved. Gideon thought he heard something during his prayer? That doesn't mean anything. You could have imagined it.
When Gideon activated the consecration chamber, I immediately felt something was wrong. I begged Gideon to stop, but he didn't listen.
Okay, okay. Wait, what did he just say? What did he just say? When he activated the concentration camp, you were still working then.
Going to handle everything. I went back to my... When Gideon activated the consecration chamber, I immediately felt something was wrong. I begged Gideon to stop, but he didn't listen.
Okay, I need to narrow their timelines down. I definitely need to narrow their timelines down. Let's ask him about this Augustine guy.
Since Gideon was going to handle everything, I went back to my tasks.
Okay, I can't contradict him here. But he does say that there was someone, like, behind him.
Closing our eyes and praying. Then I rose up.
Right there, around the ceremony
approached
starts.
The control panel. I was ready to begin.
He says he heard someone move right behind him. So, let's go back to this guy.
Since Gideon was going to handle everything, I went back to my tasks.
He says he heard you walking behind him. Okay, maybe if I go back to Gideon here and ask him about the prayer specifically. So yeah, he hears that door open. So he had his eyes closed. He hears the door open. He opens his eyes up again. You can see the vision gun pop up.
We began by closing our eyes and praying together to Ein Sof.
Since Gideon was going to handle everything, I went back to my tasks.
How can I show that someone opened that door then? I feel like I'm missing something here. Oh, we caught him in lie. I completely forgot I could do the third eye thing. Evidence discovered. Believer. Found in Rubus Sanctum, faithful servant of Aunt Sophie, or so he thinks. He knows that cybernetics are a crucial part of the truth. That's not nearly as much as I thought it was going to be.
When Gideon activated the consecration chamber,
Cybernetics empower us in the eyes of the one true God, and Soph. I'm honored to be of his service, or their
since
service.
Gideon was going to handle everything.
Hmm.
When Gideon activated the consecration chamber, I immediately felt something. When Gideon...
Let's switch back to Gideon here. And when you said you opened the door...
They decided to perform the ceremony anyway. I opened the consecration chamber, while
So the door was closed until this point. Why did you not close it after Mother Miriam entered? Because I know Gideon was bringing the coordinates soon. So I made it to begin, so it's still safe to keep the chamber open. So when did the door close? When did he close the door?
I adjusted the coordinates amplification at my work table, and then placed it on Mother Miriam's head.
Okay, he closed it himself. All right.
We began by closing our eyes and praying together.
And he hears the door open.
I heard the chamber open, but didn't think much of it.
Oh, I feel like I'm missing something so obvious, and it's really starting to drive me insane. I feel like it's just obvious, and I can't. The
aether output was dangerously high, but I had the chamber under control. Meanwhile, I adjusted the coordinates and...
I like that I can't just switch back and forth between the two.
I went back to my tasks.
So let's actually ask about the spirit blueprints here, what he's working on. Okay, gotcha. Oh, god damn it. What am I missing here? I saw Gideon pray for the ceremony. He did that right at least. Okay.
When Gideon activated the consecration chamber, I immediately felt something.
The aether output was dangerously high, but I had the chamber under control.
Recall him here and didn't hear him. Too busy performing the ceremony. Okay.
When Gideon activated the consecration chamber.
Okay, that makes sense. But if I were to say this, yeah, that doesn't track. God damn it! What am I missing here? What is so obvious that I can't? I'm unable to piece it together. Okay, so he ain't having any of it right now.
Since Gideon was going to handle everything,
Is there anything else like floating around? Like the what's this here? What's this here? The Devil's Herb. I knew something nefarious was afoot. The Abion was purified of its scent. I should dispose of any that I find. The Devil's Herb. Oh, we can't have that. It's not evidence, though. Is there anything else floating around that I might miss? Hey there, Imperial Developer. How you doing, my friend? Ah, the button. The door button. Completely missed the button. Oh, it was Harler earlier. You missed it. Ned Buttercup was kind enough to raid me with his audience. Records show it was open twice this morning. Okay, so I have a little bit of extra evidence now. Let's talk about this button here.
since Gideon was going to handle everything, I went back.
There we go. I just was missing a piece of evidence. That's what's wrong. You test my patience, Reuben. Has your memory slipped once more? The door records show that the consecration chamber was opened twice today. Given that Gideon was praying during this time, only you could have opened the chamber. It's true that I opened the chamber again just before the ceremony started, but I had my reasons. Something about the chamber seemed unseemly. Given what happened to Mother Miriam, I feel vindicated in my fears. Tell me what you did in the chamber. There we go. Oh man,
Since
finally.
Gideon was going to handle everything, I went back to my tasks.
I just missing a key, crucial piece of evidence.
So I opened the consecration chamber to verify that the coronet was in working order. Everything seemed fine, so I returned to my desk again.
Alright. Alright, I see that eye glowing. Let's take a look at his third eye here again. Envy, you say? Envious of the brother. Well, if we take a look at the old Daemonomicon. Playful but devious demon who slowly drives the host mad with whispers of their own inadequacy. The host blames others for their ill fortune until apparent injustice drives them to take what is rightfully theirs. Well, that certainly is a demon there, too.
So I opened the consecration chamber to verify that the coronet was in working order.
So, we now know for a fact you had opportunity. During the prayer, you claim to have opened the chamber to check the materials. That's when you sabotaged the ceremony. Gideon was the one that operated the device. How could I have affected the chamber of Mother Miriam? Well, I'm glad you asked. There was nothing faulty with the coronet itself. Indeed, the craftsmanship was flawless, as was Gideon's performance at the ceremony. But you removed the limiter for the coronet without Gideon's knowledge, which, occupied with the coronet's high amplification, caused an oversurge. Gideon's arrogance may have endangered Mother Miriam, but you ensured that she would die from it. Mother Miriam was our patron. Why would I want to harm her? Well, motive, means, and opportunity, baby. Mother Miriam's death was merely a means to an end. Humiliation of Gideon. Your brother's success. You want his fame and his glory. I hereby condemn your ass to hell, sir.
Ein Sof sees all, Reuben.
Alright, let's see if we can let's see how we deal with this.
You killed Mother Miriam to frame Gideon and take him down a peg. With Gideon gone, a daemon whispered that people would finally recognize you for your genius.
I am older than Gideon. My work is better than Gideon, and more important. But no one sees my work. No one understands my work.
Confess, Reuben. Tell us what the daemon made you do.
I really like it. I really like Ada's style. I like the whole the Holy High Inquisitor vibe she gives. All right, we have a full testimony now, so let's see what he's got.
Gideon was Mother Miriam's favorite. She barely knew I existed.
Oh, look at this.
When Gideon suggested increasing the ether output of the coronet, I had an idea. I would sabotage the ceremony by removing the limiter. Mother Miriam had no idea what was about to happen to her. I went back to my workstation, waiting for Gideon to close his eyes. While Gideon and Mother Miriam were praying, I reopened the chamber and removed the limiter.
I like how he's just giving it up, too. He's like, yeah, alright, fine.
When Gideon started the ceremony, I placed the limiter on his table, so that it would look as though his negligence led to Mother Miriam's death. When the oversurge began, I goaded Gideon on by telling him to stop the ceremony. Of course he didn't listen. And so Mother Miriam died. I killed her. I regret only that I've been discovered.
Alright, well, how do we handle this? Do we kill him? Do we eat him? We got this red dot right here. Oh, shit.
Demonic corruption runs deep within Reuben's soul. Yet Reuben may still be saved.
That music. That music that kicks in.
I must speak the daemon's true name. Then the daemon will be cast out. Ein Sof, guide me. What daemon has possessed Reuben?
Yeah, we do know it's this guy. Speak the name.
Out,
Magnificently done, Madam Exorcist.
The docks?
The power of Ainsof compels you, Lotan. Leave this soul and return to the ether.
Be healed!
Thousands of years, and you humans never change, never satisfied, always comparing, wanting more. Someone else is always richer, prettier, wiser, better. Nothing can ever fill that void within you.
Essentially the demon that causes communism.
Silence, Lotan. Reuben may yet be redeemed. You are a scourge. Without your influence, a good woman would still be alive. Leave humans be, Lotan. I banish you to the ether.
As you wish, but I'll return soon enough. My prince and master Lucifer walks among you. Lucifer will open the gates of hell, and at last, humanity will remember its full potential. Until then, Madam Exorcist, adieu.
I don't like that at all, Imperial Developer. Don't like that at all.
Come forth, Reuben. What remains of you?
Thank.
So, does he go to jail, or is everything okay now?
He's silent and still. Poor soul. Rest, Reuben. Heal, if you can.
Sister Ada, you've returned. Was there a demon at work after all?
I'm afraid so. The exorcism was a success. Reuben's soul has been purged. Unfortunately, the daemon was difficult to cleanse. Reuben is returned to pure innocence.
What? The exorcism shattered his mind? Can you bring
Alright, so they call it pure innocence when you're just like catatonic, I guess.
It's out of my hands. If Ainsof wills it, maybe Reuben will heal.
Guards, please escort this shell to the cryostasis cellar. I pray for his swift recovery. Abbot Gregory.
Praise be to Ainsof.
I love the terminology in this. I really do.
Saved us all. On behalf of everyone at St. Walpurgis, I express our utmost gratitude.
We are not yet safe. We must act quickly until we locate the source of the demonic influence. We don't understand yet why demons would act after 100 years. Holy Father, we must quarantine the abbey and the surrounding town immediately.
Dollars to know that's Lucifer right here. This guy. Gonna give him a little tickle on the chin. I bet that's your Lucifer right there.
Detain and interrogate anyone who seems suspicious.
We can try, Sister Ada, but it will be difficult, as we have visitors arriving hourly. Much like yourself, pilgrims from afar are here to celebrate Walpurgisnacht. It's such a shame Mother Miriam couldn't bear witness to it.
Ah, yes. The priestess. We must destroy her body immediately. Traces of demonic influence may remain from her contact with Reuben.
And we also need to burn Gideon because of it too.
No, Sister Ada, thank you for your concern, but we absolutely cannot. Mother Miriam was a prominent figure and well loved, with decades of service.
I don't like it, Imperial Developer. I'm telling you right now. I hate it.
We must treat her body with dignity and give her a proper burial. Send Mother Miriam's body to the mortuary for embalming.
Your Excellency, we really ought to take the advice of the exorcist.
Mother Miriam's body has been desecrated enough, Virgil. Send her to the mortuary, now.
As you command, Your Excellency.
Holy Father, you are making a grave mistake.
So apparently we're not like full on Inquisition though, because we don't have the ability to just go, no, you're burning her, period, in a story.
Sister Ada, don't worry yourself. All will be well.
I was hoping for more like 40k Inquisition, where I just go, all right, I found the demon, burn the city to the ground just to be safe.
St. Walpurgis' triumph over Lucifer has brought us a century of peace and bliss. It's horrifying that a demon was exorcised from our abbey, but surely it was the final remnant.
The daemon within Reuben spoke of Lucifer's return. Lucifer's ways are insidious. Even the most devout among us have temptations.
It's a shame Brother Reuben fell to the demon, but the rest of my flock is stronger. Faith shall be their shield. Now, please excuse me. This evening's mass requires my attention. We are honored by your presence, Sister Ada. Praise be to Ainsof.
Even the Holy Father can be foolish then, Ainsof. Let it not be true that Lucifer walks. But if it is, Ain Suf, guide me, that I may unmask all lies, no matter how painful.
All right. The daemon's final words haunted me. Lucifer was already among us. I wanted to destroy Mother Miriam's body to purge any traces of demonic influence. Abbot Gregory did not heed my words. Mother Miriam's to be given a proper burial. That afternoon, Inquisitor Virgil sent for me, asking urgently to meet him at the graveyard. Yeah, I'm definitely digging this. We're going to take a small little moment here. We've been streaming for about an hour or so. It's time to self-promote. If you guys like what you see here and you haven't done so already and want to support the stream, you know what streamers want. Follows and notifications turned on, likes, bits, subs, etc. All that good stuff. There's a Discord you can join down below if you want to be part of the Greater Cambridge community. Also, once again, disclosure, the copy of Lucifer Among Us that we're playing here today was provided for free by PR. So anything that I have to say about the game, positive or negative, keep that in mind. I am definitely enjoying our playthrough for this, though, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the rest of the stream. Yeah, I was real annoyed by that. I was real annoyed by the spam yesterday.
Thank you for coming to our aid so quickly, Sister Ada.
You said it was urgent. Has something happened to Mother Miriam's body?
No, in some ways, that would have been easier. There is now a second untimely death.
Another murder. On the very same day. This can't be a coincidence.
That isn't for me to say, but this time, the victim is a younger acolyte named Isaac.
He killed himself.
His remains were found in the grave that was dug for Mother Miriam. Poor kid's throat was slit.
Gruesome. Who was at the graveyard when the body was found?
Only 3 people were present this afternoon. A scholar, an embalmer, and a grave tender. Father Augustine is a scholar, visiting for Mother Miriam's funeral. The Sister Nerissa, an embalmer with a sterling reputation, preparing Mother Miriam's body for burial. Finally, Abraham, the grave tender, a layman who has kept the grounds of the abbey for many years. None of them say they were near the grave until after the body was discovered.
Which means someone is lying. No matter. Ain Suf sees all. We will unmask their lies and bring the truth forward. I swear it.
All right. Let's talk to some people. Here's the scholar, Augustine.
You must be Father Augustine. The victim was your apprentice, correct?
Oh, this is the guy who's having the spear commissioned.
Correct. And you are Sister Ada, the exorcist. It is a unique pleasure.
Thank you, but I only serve on Sof according to my calling. Why are you here, Father? I'm visiting in preparation for Mother Miriam's sudden funeral. It is a true blessing to witness your holy work, Sister Ada. I pray Isaac can rest in peace. As I try to get his weird accent, which I'm doing horribly at, but oh well, it'll help differentiate between the two. How long did Isaac study under you? Did you know him well? He was a fine apprentice, a ready mind and willing soul. I will mourn him in my own way. But I must admit the prospect of witnessing an exorcism and an unexpected silver lining. If I find you guilty, Father Augustine, you will find the experience to be unpleasant. Tell me now, what happened this afternoon, and leave nothing out. I began by taking an afternoon stroll. Okay, let's listen to what he's got.
I
Here it
arrived
is.
at the graveyard with Isaac for Mother Miriam's funeral. Isaac headed to the mortuary on a minor errand.
Okay.
Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga. What craftsmanship, and so well maintained. For most of the afternoon, I was walking through the graveyard, merely observing and admiring. At sunset, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac. I was surprised to find an open grave with something inside. Not Isaac. I was horrified to discover that it was Isaac's dead body. That's when I called for help.
Okay. So a lot of that's unverified right now, but these were very specific, as was admiring the statue. Very specific. This right here is a big gap in his timeline. Okay. Let's ask him for details.
I arrived at the...
Indeed. Were you close to her father? No, but the abbot was too busy to mass preparations to hold her funeral, so I was trusted with the task.
Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue.
Was there something peculiar about the statue that caught your eye? Given its age and it's immaculately maintained, the groundskeeper must be skilled.
For most of...
That's a lengthy stroll. Tell me more about what you were doing. You doubt me? Show me the proof that I was doing something else.
At some...
Did you see anyone? No, I was the only one near the grave.
I was horrified to discover that it was I...
So you were first to arrive at the grave? I was. Okay. Can't really contradict him yet. Let's take a look around, see if we can find anything. Immaculately maintained grave shows the genealogy of an illustrious family. There's an abrasive glass out of place around the stone. We also have a sickle. Light bright blade slices through the air to trim glass and chop reeds. Sharp edge could easily injure someone. Statue of Saint Walpurga, founder of the abbey and patron saint of exorcists. Alright. Aether scanner. Portable Aether powered device for recording images and text. Okay. Isaac, the young victim, teenage youth, aspiring to be a scholar. Rising of a church, he joined Augustine as an apprentice 8 months ago. Alright. An angry scar which runs across his stomach. Cleanly slit throat as well with no bruising. Oh, he's got some more of the devil's herb. This gotta be like a trophy or an achievement or something like that. People just wouldn't leave pot lying around. Surgical multi-tool. So cleanly slit throat. So he could have had his throat cut with the multi-tool, but then his stomach slashed with the sickle to put the... I don't know. Alright, let's go inside the church.
Praise Ain Soph. You must be the famed exorcist. It is an honor, sister. I'm Nerissa, and I serve Ain Soph by preparing the dead for burial. I take pleasure in providing cleanliness and comfort for bodies after their souls have departed.
I see. Nerissa, how did you know the victim?
Not at all. The first time I saw him, he was curled in that grave, dirty and bloody. The whole afternoon, I prepared Mother Miriam's body for burial. There isn't much else to tell.
Alright, so let's see what you're...
Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening.
Okay.
Once Abraham left, I started preparing the body for burial. I was alone the entire time. No
Okay, hold
one
on.
by.
I already caught something. Lies, Nasera. Father Augustine saw you speak to Isaac by the entrance of the mortuary. Isaac entered the mortuary. Admit it. Very well, there's no use hiding it. Please know that nothing untoward happened. The victim only stopped by for a moment. Alright, so let's try this again.
Early this afternoon,
From the
I
top.
informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening. The truth is that the apprentice did come by. He
Sounds
asked
good.
for a bouquet for the funeral later that day. When I showed him the bouquet, he held it for a moment and then threw it on the floor. I suppose it wasn't to his master's tastes. I forgot to pick it back up. Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the funeral, so I let him out the back exit.
Everyone's sitting here lying to me.
Mid-afternoon, Abraham barged into the mortuary, bellowing that the grave is now ready. I sent him away to focus. After Abraham's disturbance, I completed the embalming to the best of my humble abilities.
Okay.
Just after dark, I heard a scream from the back field. A dead body was found.
All right. Let's take a look at her defenses here. Let's see what she's got going on. A famine survivor. Well, I mean, we got the Vengeful here. We got Chonky McChonkface. Okay. All right. So far, if you know anything she can find, she eventually found substance bad outcomes. Okay, well, let's ask details about your stuff. That Abraham knew about the funeral. I certainly hope so. Why else would he dig the grave?
The truth is that...
Did you notice anything about the victim at the time? No? He seemed normal. Like a normal, healthy young man to me. Alright, man. I will catch you later. Hope to see you again tonight for the evening show. Thank you for dropping by.
When I showed him the bouquet, he held it for a moment and then threw it on the floor.
So he didn't take the bouquet with him? No, he decided it was best to return empty-handed rather than bring something unworthy.
Then the boy...
So when you last saw him, he was heading toward the grave? That's right. He left the mortuary at the back.
Mid-afternoon,
Why did you send him away? Is Abraham's presence so distracting? Yes. I don't like people to stand around and gawk while I'm trying to work. No offense.
After Abraham's disturbance...
So you consider your work complete then? I did my best given the circumstances. I always do my best, sister.
Just after...
You ran over to the grave from the mortuary when you heard the call. Yes, Father Augustine was already there. Abraham was running over the front field. Alright. Let's go find the other guy. Let's take a look at this. Just Mother Miriam, identified as Mother Miriam. There's a large incision down her stomach. Judging from the uneven color and the chemical scent, she appears to be partially embalmed. Found on the floors of the mortuary, still wet, leads from the back of the mortuary to the embalming chamber. Found on the tables with other entrails, still partially warm and moist. It appears to be mangled in some way. Perhaps smashed? Did she eat this? Did you eat this? A bundle of fresh blossoms, like that found on the grave. Why are they on the floor? The records show two notable entries today, both explicitly authorized by Abbot Gregory. 1. Funeral for Mother Miriam at sundown. 2. Visit by Father Augustine. Unrestricted access granted. Okay. Did you eat him? Found in the back area mortuary. Heavy, bulky, caked with dirt. Alright. Let's go see if we can find the other guy. There he is.
Release me. I had nothing to do with that boy.
Oh, don't you dare tell me what to do.
You must be Abraham, the grave tender.
I am. I worked here 30 years. Worked hard without complaint. Look at you. Every brush trimmed, every head stone. Look around you, rather. Every brush trimmed, every headstone polished because of me. I've done all that I asked of me and more. Yet, the moment something goes wrong, am I the one blamed? It's not personal. Even the most steadfast among us may fell prey to Lucifer's whispers, Abraham. You dug the grave in which the victim was found, didn't you? Actually, I didn't dig anything today. Then who did? How would I know? I've been busy, working as always.
As the grave tender, any crimes that took place here are your responsibility. If you are truly innocent, hide nothing, and tell me what happened. We'll find the truth together.
Alright, what you got for me?
I spent the early afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary. When I headed back to the mortuary, Nerissa told me there was nothing else special to do for the day. So I left her to her work. I walked through the mortuary, then headed downhill towards the benches. I spent the remainder of the afternoon resting on a bench. Suddenly, I heard someone call for help from the back field. I ran over, surprised to see a dead body in the grave. I spent the early afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary.
Okay, let's ask the people about stuff. Are you claiming that you didn't dig the grave? Right. That's what I said. I was busy with the bushes.
I walked through the mortuary when I headed.
You were dismissed early in the day. Why didn't you go home? There was somebody clear I should leave her to her work, so I did. There's plenty of other groundskeeping work to be done. Large headstone out in front needed some attention, so I headed that way.
I walked through the mortuary, then headed.
You didn't run into anyone? No, no one passed me.
When I headed back to the mortuary, I walked through the mortuary, then headed. I spent the remainder of the afternoon resting on a bench.
You were there until someone called for help. That's right.
Suddenly.
Then Father Osking was the one that called for help? Yeah, he was standing over the grave when I arrived. Nessa arrived around the same time, too. Okay, let's go talk to Augustine about his stroll. Actually, I can just click on the guy, I believe.
For most of the afternoon, I was walking through the grave.
All right.
After Abraham's disturbance, I completed the embalming to the best of my humble abilities.
What about this bloody liver? Okay, okay.
When I showed him the bouquet,
I spent the early afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary.
I mean, it is possible that they could have just walked right past each other.
For most of the afternoon, I was walking through the graveyard, merely observing and admiring.
That's my other scanner. I use it to record images and parse them into glyphs. What were you doing with an other scanner out here? During your so-called stroll, did you drop this by any chance? I found it in place of a gravestone. What were you doing with it? It has nothing to do with Isaac's death. I shall be the judge of that. Tell me what you were doing. I was using the scanner to record a lost hymn for Abbot Gregory to use in tonight's mass. The last record of it is etched upon one of these gravestones. Ah! So that's a lot of extra stuff right here. Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. Disappointment. Don't we all suffer from that? Okay, so why don't you
passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga.
why don't you tell me what you were actually doing?
Perhaps it took me a little while, but I found it. The grave of Sergius. I placed my scanner in front of the gravestone. It would take some time to decode the etching.
Okay.
Then I saw a stranger pass by. He was tall, barrel-chested. I think he was the groundskeeper.
Afterwards, I waited by the grave for my scanner to complete its task. It was taking longer than I expected, so I had to leave it.
All right.
When the sun was setting, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac and begin the funeral.
Now you're supposed to be resting on a bench at that time. What's going on there?
At sunset, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac. I was surprised to find an open grave with something inside.
Now hold on. Did you see anyone? No, I was the only one near the grave. Are you sure?
When the sun was setting,
Because what the hell's
I wandered
that?
to the back area to meet with
So you instructed Isaac to meet you in the real field at dusk. That was the plan, yes. I expected I found the grave and finished decoding by this point. Isaac would meet me in the real field with the bouquet, and we would attend the funeral. Ah, but she ate him!
At sunset, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac. When the
Are
sun
you
was
sure
setting,
you didn't see
I
anyone? Because,
wandered
I mean...
to the back area to meet with Isaac and begin the funeral.
This might help exonerate you. Are you are you 100% positive you didn't see anyone?
Afterward,
What were you trying to decode? According to my research, Sergius was buried at the last record of the Hymn of Communication. Unfortunately, it was written in an ancient script that even I can't read. It was obscure even in Sergius's time. It was part of my research to reconstruct some data that was lost or suppressed after Sergius's condemnation.
Then I saw a stranger pass.
You're certain he came from the real fields rather than the mortuary, correct?
I placed my scanner.
What were you trying to decode? According to my research, Sergius was buried at the last record of the lost hymn of communion. Unfortunately, it's okay. I already got that. I got that.
It took me.
How did you find the grave of Sergius? Are you certain of the heretic's resting place? I'm certain. It's unidentifiable and a unique set of etchings on his grave. It's identifiable by a unique set of etchings on his gravestone. It takes Skulla's eye to discern the difference from other gravestones. Fair enough. Okay. I think we're good for right now. So,
I walked through the mortuary, then headed downhill towards the benches.
you sure about that? Lies. You didn't walk through the mortuary after speaking with Nessara. You passed the grave. Augustin saw you coming from the back fields. Fine, I did walk the back fields. Past the grave I dug. People always blamed me for things I didn't do, so I didn't think you'd believe me. I'm sorry. I haven't said I believe you yet, but we'll see. What was in the grave when you passed by it? Nothing. There was no body, no blood. Nothing. Okay, so, what were you saying again now?
I spent the early afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary.
Okay.
When I passed by the grave, it was still empty, ready for the funeral.
All this is now verified.
I walked through the walls to reach the front field. I suppose that's when the scholar saw me. I spent the remainder of the afternoon resting on a bench.
You sure about that? You sure about that? This sickle was found by the gravestone that you were supposedly polishing. Admitted Abraham. You left it there. Fine, of course I had the sickle. I had to tend the grass around the graves. I didn't mention it because I thought it made me look suspicious. Now you've made yourself even look more suspicious. Amend your testimony.
I walked through the walls to reach the front field. I suppose that's when the scholar saw me. I had a sickle with me because I wanted to trim the grass around a grave in the front field.
Okay. That all tracks. That all still tracks. Okay, what you got going on? He's the last scion. And grief. As the last descendant of a disgraced noble lineage, Abraham feels owed by his family's legacy. Found in Abraham's sanctum. So over 100 years ago, Abraham mourns for his family fortunes, so quickly reducing their status. About 100 years ago, the church decided Sergius, my great-granduncle, was a heretic, which I suppose he was. But ever since, they persecuted my family, confiscated everything we've owned. Noble to laborers overnight. I'm all that's left of Sergius's line. Took this job to somehow keep working on my ancestral lands one way or another. I was bitter when I started out, but I've discovered the work suits me. Maybe it was all an Onsof's plan after all. Okay, now all of this definitely verified. So he could have been killed here. Let's go talk to Nerissa again. Hey there, how you doing? You said you didn't go outside, but what's up with these footprints here?
Disturbance, I completed the embalming to... Just after dark, after Abraham's disturbance, I completed the embalming to the best of my humble abilities. When I showed him the bouquet, when I showed the truth early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening. After Abraham's disturbance...
I don't trust you for shit. I don't trust you at all.
Afterwards, I waited by the grave for my scanner to complete its task. When the sun was setting, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac and begin the funeral. At sunset, when the sun was setting, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac.
Is it the blood or what gave it away? The fact that she had a liver half consumed sitting next to her is what makes me really, really concerned that she's lying to me.
After Abraham's disturbance, I completed the embalming to the best of my humble abilities.
She has like just no one. She has like no, like this whole area right here, the finished preparations thing.
Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the funeral, so I let him.
So
out
he
the back
leaves.
exit.
Around which time Abraham says
I
he
spent the
comes
early
in.
afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary.
He does see her. She comes out. Okay, leave, 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 leave. We have these footprints here that like go out to the body itself. Like right here. Like I'm almost positive she did it, but I need a tire to it. Let's talk to her about taking Isaac out the back exit here.
Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the... After Abraham's disturbance, I completed the embalming.
Okay. How about your medical? She's real slick about it. I need to find a way to get her ass.
Early this afternoon, I informed
I spent the early afternoon tending to the
Aha!
Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening.
Okay, well let's go back to Abraham here. Talk to him about me and that, because there's a contradiction there. Pumping him for information might give me more about that.
I spent the early afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary.
Aha! The more we can narrow her timeline down by hitting everyone else, the better. But I'm convinced Nerissa did it. I could be wrong, though. You might trim the hedges most days, but you didn't today, did you? Instead, Nerissa asked you to dig a grave for the funeral. That's true. It's not a part of my job. Shouldn't have lied about it, I know. I was worried if I told the truth, I thought you'd think I killed that boy, but I didn't. When you lied to me, you veiled the truth from the eyes of Ansof. Speak for truth now. There's no room for error in this investigation. Fine. I dug the grave for the funeral, just doing my job. But it was empty when I left it. Yeah, it's the Orient Express. They all did it together. I really liked that new one, by the way, with Johnny Depp and Kenneth Branagh on it. I think Johnny Depp was in it.
Nerissa told me there'd be an urgent
Spoilers for like a 50-year-old, 70-year-old mystery novel. Way older than that, probably.
So I picked up the shovel and went down to the rear plot to dig a new grave. The ground was hard. Took me some time to dig that hole.
Oh, you really disliked it? No, I liked it. I liked it quite a bit.
I took a long break while digging. It's within my rights. There wasn't anyone else around, so it was nice and peaceful. Then I got back to it and finished digging the grave. When the grave was ready, I walked back to the mortuary to let Nerissa know.
Okay. Well, you're almost completely done up, however.
And I got back to it and finished digging the grave.
However, there's some problems here. On my family's honor, I swear that I saw no one digging that grave. Certainly didn't see Nestor or the boy come through. So we got a problem here. Despite conflict of other testimonies and evidence, the suspect insists the following is true. Well, let's see more about what you got going on here. Integrity. Found in Abram's sanctum, he values honesty and sincerity. He generally loves lying and trying to escape lying to try to escape accusations. So he's like legitimate. Okay. So he's possibly not it. So let's go back to her.
Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the funeral. When I showed him the book. Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the.
Okay, let's talk about this conflict here, because you two are lying. I don't know why Abraham would lie, but the victim left through that door. I swear I saw it myself.
Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the funeral, so I let him out the back exit.
So there's some shit here. We got two people lying.
Then I got back to it, and so I picked up the shovel and went down to the rear plot to dig a new grave. Narissa told me there'd be an urgent funeral, so I picked up the shovel and went down to the rear. The ground was hard. Took me some time. I took a long break while digging. It's within my rights. There wasn't anyone else around, so it was nice and peaceful.
It was too high budget for you? Is that kind of what you're saying?
And finished digging the grave. When the grave was ready, I walked back to the mortuary to let Narissa know. Then I got back to it and finished digging the grave.
Okay.
Then I arrived at the graveyard with Isaac for Mother Miriam's funeral. Isaac headed to the... Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga. What?
I'm a Kenneth Branagh fan, though. I really like Kenneth Branagh. Oh God, I know she's lying to me.
To be taken to the rear fields before the funeral, so I let him out the back exit.
God, I know you're lying to me. But how? How are you lying to me? I haven't been able to catch you in anything, and I know you're lying to me. God damn it, I know you're lying to me.
When I showed him the bouquet, he held it for a moment and then threw it on the floor. I suppose. Then the boy asked to be...
So when you last saw me, he was heading toward the grave. That's right. We left the mortuary on the back. Okay. Alright. Oh, I know you're lying to me. I know you are.
The truth is, early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening. The truth is that the apprentice did come by early this afternoon. The truth is that the apprentice did come by.
God damn it. God damn it. How I know she's lying to me.
I arrived at the graveyard with Isaac for Mother Miriam's funeral. Isaac headed to the mortuary on a minor errand.
Let's see if he can't give me some more details. Because you're not really here for the funeral. Okay, fair enough.
Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga. What craftsmanship, and so well maintained.
Okay.
I arrived at the...
Let's ask about that.
Then
That's true. Isaac must have died near the grave. Yep, we did see that.
it took me a...
To who gets the vocation? I don't know. Some of this stuff is red herring stuff.
Then I passed through the graveyard. It took me a little while, but I placed my scanner in front of the gravestone. It would take some time to decode the etchings.
Huh. Meanwhile, he was walking. Meanwhile, he was walking through here.
The walls to reach the front field.
Yeah, they
Suppose
see each
that's
other.
when the scholar saw me. I had a sickle with me because I wanted to trim the grass around a grave in the front.
Meanwhile, he was waiting for the scanner.
Afterwards, I waited by the grave for my scanner to complete its task. When the sun was setting, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac and begin the funeral.
The 1974 murder on the Orient Express? I don't think I've seen that one.
It took me a little while, but I found it. The grave of Sergi.
You had unrestricted access. It shouldn't have taken you anywhere. Why are you here, Father Augustine? My visit to the graveyard today. You seem to already know why. The mortuary's visitation record showed that Abbot Gregory granted you unrestricted access. What is it you're looking for? The reasons for my visit are of no importance to your investigation, and no bearing on how Isaac died. Tell me anyways. I want to know the whole truth. If you must know, I'm here to examine the grave of Father Sergius. Sergius is a heretic who lived during St. Walpurga's time. Scholarly pursuits, nothing of import. I admire Father Sergius, despite his disgraced reputation. Only truly inspired among us would dare defy the teachings of the church to find truth. Okay.
Isaac was sent to the mortuary to pick up flowers that I ordered for Mother Miriam's funeral. Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga. What craftsmanship, and so well maintained. It took me a little while, but I found it. The grave of Sergius. My true reason for coming here was to find the grave of...
So the funeral's just a cover story. Why the secrecy? My research is controversial. I didn't want to stir the pot, as it were, in these difficult times. Besides, it's true that I was planning on holding Mother Miriam's funeral, after a bit of research. Alright. No
I was
corroboration,
sent
but
to the
very
mortuary
specific.
To pick up flowers that I ordered for Mother Miriam's Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga. What? It took me a little while, but I found it. The grave of... I placed my scanner...
I feel like there
into
should
the
be something
gravestone.
here.
It would take some time to decode the etchings. Afterwards, I waited by the grave for my scanner to complete its task. When the sun was setting, at sunset,
Okay, yep,
I
yep,
wandered
yep.
to the
Okay, got a little bit more. It's her. I really need to hammer her.
After Abraham's disturbance, I completed the... When I showed him the bouquet, he held it for a moment.
I gotta get her. The body had both, like a gash across the stomach and then a fine surgical cut across his neck. I'm convinced she did it. Like her mouth is masked up for a reason. Hey, Zoxter. Well, it started raining after it set down near the statue. Yeah.
The boy asked to be taken to the rear field.
Like if we go here.
I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Well.
Let's find out exactly when the rain started.
I placed my then I saw a straight afterwards I waited
Right
by the
here.
grave for my scanner to
Around right
complete
here.
its task. It was taking longer than I expected, so I had to leave it.
I know my head's in the way. The thing is, these two people, we have confirmed they're seeing each other. He can see him, and he confirmed that he was there. Like, Abraham's entire timeline where it's gold. Let me take my my head off for a second. Everywhere where it's gold is confirmed. So Abraham is the groundskeeper. Augustine's the priest who we're talking to right now. Now, he wasn't seen. And this orange here is a contradiction. Both these people are saying this didn't happen. They're both fighting over it. So I need to find something. I need to find the right piece of evidence to hammer one of them with. And I don't, either I don't have it or I'm not doing the right thing. And yeah, I have asked her about the muddy footprints. Apologize for this. Normally the mortuary is kept pristine, I assure you, but today is normally a hard day. That's all she says.
Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening. The truth is that the apprentice did come by.
Okay.
He asked for a bouquet for the funeral later that day.
Yeah, that matches up. See, we can see what's corroborated, what's very specific, and there's like physical stuff along with it, so.
When I showed him the bouquet, he held it for a moment and then threw it on the floor.
Okay, hold on. Let's stop that.
It wasn't to his master's taste.
But he sent in to pick that up, so this might actually be. Damn it. Because she, okay, fair enough, fair enough. This is where things get a little weird.
The boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the funeral, so I led him out the back exit.
Now, I tried to hit it with the muddy footprints here, but that doesn't, she says that. Haha! The liver. The liver is still bloody. How could you possibly claim that it's ready for burial? I couldn't finish the burial preparations in time because I misplaced my surgical tool. I searched all over the mortuary for it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Alright. There we go. We have her timeline updated a little bit here.
Mid-afternoon, Abraham barged into the mortuary.
I'll show you on my end.
Knowing that the grave is now ready, I sent him away to focus. After Abraham left, I noticed that my multi-tool wasn't in my pocket. I searched all over the mortuary for it, but it was missing.
Okay, well, I found that shit outside. Ha-ha! Explain these muddy footprints, Nerissa. They indicate someone left and then returned to the mortuary during the rain. Given that Father Augustine remained outside and the Abraham left before the rain, these must be your footprints. I'm sorry, Sister Ada, for the lies, for the filth. Can't wait to clean it up. I admit that I did step outside briefly to search for the multi-tool, but since it was raining I couldn't find anything, so the embalming remains sadly unfinished. Alright. Let's try this again. Let's actually bust into your head here, too. You're a famine victim. What else we got going on here? Oh, and a carnivore. Okay, okay. You're clearly eating someone. And a cannibal. Alright. Well, we clearly know that you did it. I just have to prove it. What? Well, let's...
After Abraham left, I noticed that my multi-tool wasn't in my pocket. I searched all over the mortuary for it, but it was missing.
Let's finish. Listen to what she has to say left.
I was desperate to find the tool to finish my work. I tried searching outside, but I couldn't find anything in the rain. I did what I could without making new incisions, but that made things slower and messier. I'm not pleased with the results.
I don't know. Let's accuse her. Okay. You had opportunity. You killed Isaac while he was visiting the mortuary to fetch the bouquet. I admit he came by, but he left shortly afterwards. If he died in the mortuary, why was his body found in the grave? Because his body was moved. This is what would have happened. Okay, so we got that. Preparing the body occupied me for the entire afternoon. When could I have done such a thing? Well... If he died, why was his body found in the grave? After you dismissed Abraham, you weren't searching for the multi-tool. You dragged the victim's body to the grave, hoping to bury it before anyone arrived. Okay, so we got opportunity. Means. If you think I did it, then tell me, how could I have done it? Do you see a weapon anywhere? Well, we have the multi-tool. It's designed for precise incisions into the hardened tissue. It would have sliced through a living body with ease. Besides, nothing else would have allowed the killer to seal the victim's wound on the stomach. Oh my god, the bots. Bots have been uncontrollable. Oh, her motive is she's a cannibal. Your austere childhood has led you to develop a deep craving for exotic meals, especially a certain rare flesh that had sustained you for a time of need. Working as an embalmer must have been tempted you. Day in and day out, you were virtuous for so long. You would handle the organs as part of preparing bodies. You could easily imagine the taste, the texture, yet you resisted. Then Isaac arrived, and your daemon spoke. You could no longer ignore your hunger. A fresh, juicy liver at your fingertips. It'd be so much tastier than the cold entrails you can handle from corpses. All you had to do was slit open his stomach, like you've done 100 times before. Ah! God! Took her mask off. Yeah, it was the statue. The statue did it.
You are the only person who could have killed Isaac.
And yes, Oxstar, I did get the liver.
Curse you, and curse Ain Soph. How can the eye see all? Does it see my suffering?
That's how I knew she did it. I found that liver right away. I just didn't know where to pop it.
Where was Ain Soph when my family was dying in the street? Chewing on leather just to live another day.
Remember, the common thing with all cannibals is once you eat someone once, you got the taste for it. You gotta eat again. It's like that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, when they're like hunting Charlie to eat him or something like that. And the bloody one inside Isaac. No, I don't think I got that. I must have missed that.
Test, Nerissa. Ain Soph wanted you to demonstrate your faith, your will to live.
Have you ever felt true hunger? When you haven't eaten for days, reality shifts. The body needs.
We all have our challenges set out before us, Nerissa. Some more difficult than others.
Do you think I was the only one that fed on human flesh?
It's not for me to judge what you did back then. That's between you and your confessor. But today, you murdered an innocent youth so that you could feed on his liver. A daemon has possessed you. Confess, Nerissa. Speak the truth. It is time.
Alright, let's see what happened here.
Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening. The truth is, that boy did come by. He asked for a bouquet for the funeral later that day.
I like the idea of inside the pool room with the mackerel
I walked
myself.
to the bouquet table. I don't know what came over me. The hunger clenched my belly suddenly. I've seen the butchers do it. It only took a quick slash to his throat, and he fell to the floor. I knew where to get the best cut. His liver. It was still warm. I couldn't believe the taste. Like nothing I'd eaten before.
Nom 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 nom. I'm impressed she hit all the blood.
Then, Abraham barged into the mortuary, bellowing that the grave is now ready. I sent him away to focus. My senses were returning, and I cleaned up my mess. I sealed the boy's body, putting the liver from the body I had been embalming inside and sealing it.
Now, I found that. I'm a big fan of pate myself.
I carried him to the new grave and quickly tossed him in. I heard someone coming, so I didn't have time to bury him. I was shaking with adrenaline.
I like how she had all this time but didn't bother to wipe her mouth off.
In my hurry to return to the mortuary, my multi-tool must have slipped out of my apron's pocket. I stored what was left of the liver among the other entrails, hoping to finish it later. I wanted to savor its deep, rich flavors.
Yeah, fair
Sooner
enough.
than I anticipated, I heard a scream from the backfield. Someone had already discovered the body.
Alright. By the word of God, I purge this demon.
Nerissa's wretched soul is twisted by demonic influence and must speak the daemon's true name. Then the daemon will be cast out and be banished to the ether. Ain Soph, guide me. What daemon has possessed Nerissa?
Well, she works with bodies, so stands to reason her coat's made from special material that doesn't stain. Is that a thing? I'm willing to bet it's Beelzebub the Gluttonous.
Out, Beelzebub! Leave this soul and return whence you came!
We must feed Nerissa, delicious, scrumptious little morsel.
Maybe in the future. Fair enough.
The hunger is an endless pit.
I didn't know if they actually made, like, maybe a coat that was, like, blood repellent for some reason, other than being, like, you know, plastic.
Speak, Beelzebub. Why has your kind returned?
Strikes me within the realm of reason they would have something like that.
Hunger is a primal need. Just as you feed on lesser life forms, growing them in captivity for slaughter. We feed on you. The meat of your emotions, the marrow of your deepest desires.
You will prey upon us no longer, Beelzebub. Return to the ether and never come back.
I must obey for now, but we won't be gone too long. Tonight, Lucifer will open the gates of hell. I won't be the only one allowed to feast. Ada, you juicy little morsel. We shall devour you soon.
I'm sure you will.
You and all the other delicacies.
Goodbye.
Nerissa. Do you hear me, Nerissa? Was I too late?
Does nothing remain of your soul.
Goodbye, Nerissa. May Ain Soph make you whole again.
Like, it makes him comatose.
Power of an exorcist.
Comatose.
I've
Comatose.
dreamed of seeing this. It looks a bit different than I imagined, however. What's happening to her?
Or not in this case, it just snapped her.
Ada, look out!
Huh?
Halt, Nerissa.
I think he just punched her.
Good. I've stunned her. Are you all right, Sister Ada?
Yes. You came just in time. My thanks, Virgil.
Ein Soph, save us. Another possession. Another killing. How is this possible?
This
Who is
guy.
responsible?
This guy right here. That's the Lucifer.
Virgil, you have failed us. How could you allow this to happen?
Unfortunately, Father, I believe you are primarily responsible. We should have listened to Ada.
See, Zachary, now you're talking my language. When I first started playing this, I was getting the strong Inquisition vibes from Sister Ada here, and I was hoping I would be able to roll in like a 40k Inquisitor, but they kind of have her a little restrained, which is unfortunate, because I'd be like, okay, we found the demon. Now everyone in the church has to die just to be safe, because that seems to be a thing here.
She warned us about the contaminated body, and its demons spread, just as she said.
See, that's why you just have to murder everyone involved.
We must act now. We can't waste any more time bickering about who's to blame. The daemon within Nerissa spoke of Lucifer's return. He walks among us.
Remember, there's only one thing you need to remember as an Inquisitor, and that is that a plea of innocence is guilty of wasting your time.
It's perverse that they would return now on the holiest of days. Why? Are we being punished?
It doesn't matter why. The Abbey is unsafe, Father. Cancel the Mass. Send the pilgrims home. If you proceed, you are risking all their lives.
No, Father. You must stay the course. We've worked too hard for this moment. I have decoded the ancient hymn of...
Yeah, hit me up with your favorite 40k
Mass
quotes.
will proceed as planned. This chance will not come again for another century. It's literally the last chance we have in our lifetimes.
What is the significance of that hymn? Why must it be sung tonight?
According to Augustine's research, it honors Saint Walpurga and her victory in a way uniquely pleasing to Ein Soph.
I protest. But if you absolutely must hold the Mass, at least allow me to guard you at the altar. You are putting yourself in danger.
That may be unwise, Father. Surely
Also, this
things
guy.
as dangerous as you
This
say,
guy here.
Nobody.
Hell of Satan.
How do we know this supposed exorcist is not the pawn of Lucifer?
Hell of Satan, too. They're both Satan.
Absurd. You
That guy,
witnessed
too,
this.
Virgil? Also Satan.
No, I saw her turn a woman into a rabid beast. What really transpired in the ether when she supposedly exorcised these demons?
Oh, fuck you, bro.
She invokes the demons' names. She knows them more intimately than any of us.
I speak their names to control them and then banish them. You know this.
Or perhaps you are being used by them. How would we know?
The only thing that possesses me is the flame of Ein Soph. I shouldn't have to defend myself.
Your favorite 40k-esque quote isn't from 40k. It's Cadete eos novet enim dominus quis sent illis. Kill them, for the Nord knows who are his. Also said by Leland Gaunt in Needful Things in a more modern vernacular, kill them all, and let God sort them out.
Actually, what Augustine says makes sense. We should be extra cautious, just in case. I don't want you at the Mass. If you truly believe Lucifer lurks at my abbey, find him. Unmask him. Search the grounds as you like, but stay away from the chapel or I will have you put in a cell. Nothing can be permitted to interrupt the Mass and the hymn.
Oh, this is going to end up with me killing myself in a cell, isn't it?
Today, Saint Walpurga deserves to be honored for her victories. Inquisitor, Augustine, come. We have much to prepare.
Very wise, Father. As always. Farewell, sister.
It would be best if you were wrong, Ada.
That's because it is. Lucifer will strike tonight, Virgil. I only pray he strikes at me instead of at the Mass. Stay vigilant.
Oh man, I am really... I'm digging the game. I'm definitely liking it. It's a nice change of pace when I'm playing on the stream. And I love the world they created here. I wish I can go deeper into the world itself. I get the feeling that this game is going to end very quickly on me, because there's only 4 demons and I've gone through 2 of them already. So unless there's like, surprise demon orgy, I only have 2 more missions before it's finished, which is unfortunate. Poisoned by Father Augustine against me, Abbot Gregory ordered that I remain outside of the chapel for his mass. At midnight, the gathered pilgrims lifted their voices and praised Ein Sof, but they were cut short by a thunderous clash. Another soul taken.
Virgil, where's Abbot Gregory? What interrupted his mass?
Also, real quick, as we go on to the next murder, it's been about yet another hour. It seems to be clocking about an hour per case. I'd probably go a lot faster if I wasn't dumb. But I'm going to take this moment before we get into this one to self-promote one more time. If you like what you see here and you want to support the stream, you all know what to do. Follows and notifications turned on, bits, subs, especially if you're sitting on Amazon Gaming sub, that'd be great. All that good stuff you know streamers want. Also, one more disclosure again, the copy of Lucifer Among Us was provided for free by PR. So regardless of what I have to say about it, good or bad, keep that in mind as I play through this delightful little game that I'm definitely enjoying. Otherwise, hope you continue watching. We're going to be here for about another 40 minutes or so. And probably won't finish up today, but we'll resume again later tonight as well. So, best way to know when I go live for the second half of this will, of course, to be follow, turn on notifications. But we still have about 40 minutes or so that I want to play through this. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the stream.
The Abbot. His death was the interruption. A third murder, I'm afraid.
Oh, so I guess Abbot Gregory isn't Lucifer. So it's the other dude. The dude who I've been saying talks like this.
The lights went
And I know that accent's different than I was giving him because I'm not a voice actor. I suck at it.
Moments later, the statue of Saint Walpurga crashed down from the ceiling, impaling Abbot Gregory with its spear.
Holy shit.
An assassination, then. But why? We must determine who is possessed immediately. Examining the facts will reveal Ein Sof's truth. How was the statue held in place?
Due to its weight, we have
flimsily
using aether-powered restraints to hang it above the altar, which means the killer must have sabotaged the 2 power generators on the balcony floor. There were only 2 people on the balcony during the mass. I've detained them for interrogation. I've sent the pilgrims back to town, lest they panic and disturb the evidence.
Excellent work, Virgil. Who are the suspects? You said there were 2.
You already know them. Brother Gideon and Father Augustine.
Since you are a key witness to the events, I will of course hear your testimony as well. May Ein Sof show us the truth behind all of today's events.
Alright, well, let me look around first before I start talking to people. Abbot Gregory was stabbed through the chest by the statue's spear while giving his communion mass. Yeah, I'll do it. Hanging stone statue of St. Walpurga, recently outfitted with a spear of relic, suspended above the altar using other restraints. Ah, the same spear that Gideon's brother was working on, I'd imagine. I'm not a doctor, so I cannot give you a fully accurate medical opinion if he's actually dead or not. It could just be ketchup. It worked for Metal Gear. What if they both did it? Aetheric discharge. So, Gideon could have fried that one. Oh my god, the wacky tobacco. The Abbey has been cleansed of the devil's herb. Those appear to be pieces of cilantro. Do not speak its name. It makes shudder just thinking about that disgusting soapy flavor. See, I love cilantro myself. I love cilantro, but I understand that's coriander if you're weird. But I understand that some like 10% of the population taste soap when they eat it. It's really odd. That's how you tell if they're evil. It's like having a left hand. Signs of the devil. Wait a minute. If they both are guilty, that means this is the last mission. Cybernetic remains. So who are the two demons we haven't messed around with yet? The Vengeful and the Proud. Okay. So that seems to be everything at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a double murder. Double murder homicide? Yeah, okay. Let's start with Gideon here.
This can't be happening. Yet another death? Am I to be blamed again?
Calm yourself, Gideon.
I am innocent, even more the victim here. I was attacked. Surely that puts me above suspicion. He has a stutter. You might not have noticed that, but Gideon has a stutter. You were attacked by whom? I couldn't see them. Whatever it was, they attacked me from behind. I was knocked unconscious until the guards found me. Alright, what do you got?
At the start of the night, I was waiting near the organ.
I bet you were near the organ.
When the mass began, I played the entry hymn on the organ. I think I played well enough, though I didn't have much time to practice it.
Yeah, he was smoking that devil's weed.
After the opening hymn, I listened to Abbot Gregory's sermon. It was a pretty good one. When the ritual of communion began, someone attacked me from behind. I fell unconscious until just now.
Alright, that's okay, let's ask. That doesn't seem like you. You had nothing else to do? No, there was nothing else to do but wait. Practice patience for once. Was this the hymn of communion from Father Augustine? Yes, it was a magnificent piece.
After the opening hymn,
Indeed. What did the abbot speak about in his sermon? The end of Anselm's silence. His excitement was obvious and contagious. We should have been right. It's so much easier if I could hear Anselm's voice when I was uncertain.
When the ritual of communion began.
Truly, you were lying on the floor the whole time. That's right. By the time I woke up, the pilgrims had all been sent away. Ask him about the devil's weed. I don't think I can ask him about the devil's weed. Alright. Sister was whispering divine justice upon the sinner who killed Abbot Gregory. I only wish I could act as an inquisitor here, but I submit to your authority. This is what I witnessed tonight.
We arrived shortly before the mass began.
Did you notice anything about Abbot Gregory as you were arriving? The abbot seemed agitated about the chapel security. He was eager to send me off to secure the balcony floor.
I began my patrol by securing the east side of the balcony. I saw Gideon examining the ritual bell.
Well, that already is a contradiction. I'll ask about that in a second. While you're on the east balcony, did you notice anything strange? Nothing to note. Generator seemed fine, at least to my eyes. So let's go ahead and go back to Gideon real quick.
At the start of the night, I was waiting near the organ.
Lies, Gideon. Virgil saw you standing near the ritual bell prior to the mass. What were you doing? Really? I'm innocent, but maybe the attack damaged my memory. Wait, does that sound familiar? Did I misremember? I do recall being by the bell. When exactly that happened, let me think.
Given the tragic events of this morning, I examined the condition of the east generator to ensure the safety of the chapel.
Used to be an arm. It's a rather advanced model. Okay. We've only made these for Inquisitors. It can discharge etheric energy to incapacitate someone. Even supposed remote activation. Useful for ambushing fugitives, I guess. Ah, I see. Yeah, we absolutely had... Yeah, what luck. We absolutely had an Inquisitor going that way. Anyways, go on. You were saying.
Inquisitor, prepare.
Next, I checked the ritual bell. As I was doing this, I saw Inquisitor Virgil gazing at the altar.
Okay.
I knew Mass was about to begin, so I headed back to the organ. When the Mass began,
Okay.
Next, I checked the ritual bell. As I was doing this, I saw...
You saw Inquisitor Virgil. What was he doing? He was walking to the overhang near the altar. I assumed he wanted to inspect something. Alright, back to Virgil. What were you doing?
Arrived shortly before the mass began. I began my patrol by securing the east side of the balcony. I saw Gideon examining the ritual bell.
While you're on the east balcony, did you notice anything strange? Nothing of note. Generator seemed fine, at least to my eyes. What about, these cybernetic grenades here, buddy? No idea what they are, huh? You sure about that? Inquisitors imbue a portable ether emitters to enforce the will of An Soph. They're non-lethal, of course. Gideon is correct in the Inquisitor's arms can be operated from a distance. Truthfully, I haven't had a need to do so. I much prefer direct confrontation. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there was this arm here, buddy. Do you recognize these remains, Virgil? No, I do not. Strange, because they should be very familiar to you. These are the remains of an Inquisitor's arm. Lift up your cape. Show me your right arm. I will not. What is the meaning of this? Then I will do it myself. As I thought, your right arm is missing. I like how she's just like, fuck off. I have the authority to ask these questions, and you will submit. Why did you hide this from me, Virgil? You betray my trust. Because I was ashamed. I failed to do my duty. Someone ambushed me in the darkness. The culprit severed my arm and used it to disable the power generators. I cannot deny that I failed to protect him. I failed us all.
I began my patrol by securing the east side of the balcony.
Well, let's take someone's really proud there. Yeah, I keep thinking that myself. Zealot. He is a zealot. Okay.
Next, I check.
We haven't even talked to the other guy yet. Shattered confidence. All right. Yeah, he did say he was on the other side there. That's why we see him coming over here. We see him passing Virgil that way. Anyways, let's get back to this. Let's let him.
My patrol by securing the east side of the balcony. I saw Gideon examining the ritual bell. Then I patrolled the south balcony,
Which has been corroborated, but it's not really specific.
Everything appeared to be in order, so I ended my patrol and watched over the chapel from the south balcony. Then I patrolled.
No, while we're here, while you're on the south balcony, did you notice anything strange? Paradel, everyone remembers things slightly different in this game. So just because someone is slightly off in what they're seeing doesn't necessarily mean that they're telling that they're lying or even telling the truth. It's like taking witness testimony from actual people. You can talk to 3 different people who saw the same thing and you'll get widely different things from everyone, but they could all be telling the truth. They could all be remembering it, what they think. So just because there seems to be some kind of like weird deviation doesn't mean. Yeah, that's true. I can ask about it, and I did ask about it. I'm about to ask right here. I have a very specific order of things I'm going into. But I can't, like, ask specific questions. I could just do, like, a general ask.
Everything appeared to be in order, so I ended.
How could the culprit sneak up on you? Didn't your vantage point give you a full view of the chapel? My position had 2 blind spots, the southwest and the southeast corners. But there was no one in either corner during my patrol. Perhaps the culprit snuck behind me during my patrol and hid in one of the corners waiting to strike.
I was focusing on the altar, so the bastard was able to sneak up on me. He knocked me out with a blow to the back of my head.
I find it difficult to believe someone could defeat you so easily. Despite enhancements, our bodies are quite fragile, Sister Ada. A surprise blow to the head is all it takes to knock someone to the floor. Actually, way harder to do than you might think. You don't get to just whack someone in the back of the head with a baseball bat and knock him out. You're more than likely to kill him than you are to knock him out.
I lay unconscious for some time.
You seem to have recovered more quickly than Gideon did. Perhaps I'm more resilient than he is, Sister Ada, or more eager to wake. Or perhaps the culprit used different means to attack him.
When I woke up, everything was dark. I also discovered that my left arm was missing.
The culprit took your cybernetic arm? Yes, he must have attached it by applying sufficient force at the shoulder socket. Normally, it would be very difficult to use this method, especially if the target's resisting you. However, I was lying helplessly on the floor, giving the culprit time and leverage to do this.
I suspected foul play, so I headed towards the west generator. Along the way, I discovered Gideon lying unconscious.
Okay, so that does match up. Gideon was lying unconscious. Why didn't you help him up? As cool as it sounds, I had little choice but to leave Gideon there. The culprit was to strike again. I had to hurry.
To protect the remaining generator, I ran towards the east balcony. Along the way, I heard an explosion.
That might be worth looking at, but it also could be the fact that the image might be reversed. An explosion from where? Somewhere at the north end of the east balcony. So it's probably the east generator.
statue's aether restraints deactivated, dropping and impaling Abbot Gregory. May he rest in peace.
So you saw with your own eyes that the restraints failed. That's right. Shortly after the explosion, the restraints flickered out, which caused the statue to come crashing down.
When I arrived at the generator, Augustine was standing nearby, smirking at the carnage he caused. I arrested him there and then.
You're certain Augustine is the culprit. Did you see him sabotage the generator? No. I arrived too late for that. However, there wasn't anyone else nearby. It has to be him. Alright, Augustine.
Ah, poor Abbot Gregory. We had such hopes and plans together. If only he had listened to your sage advice, Sister Ada, perhaps he would be...
Yeah, the abbot himself did it.
You. I cannot ignore that you are the link. Everything that has happened today points back to you, Augustine.
It must be a tragic coincidence. The abbot was my friend and trusted ally. I wished him no harm.
Explain your actions. What were you doing on the balcony?
With Mother Miriam's passing, Abbot Gregory needed someone to ring the ritual bell. I volunteered. It was an honor.
Okay, here we go. Some of this has been verified.
The abbot, Virgil, and I arrived at the chapel just before the mass.
Okay.
Inquisitor, prepare. As you command. When I headed to my seat for the mass to begin, I was rather excited for the proceedings. We began by singing the hymn of communion. It was glorious.
Let me ask you about when you arrived. Soon after your arrival, it seems you went your separate ways? Yes. Abbot Gregory sent the Inquisitor Virgil away to patrol the balcony floor. The abbot himself went to the altar, while I took my seat in the pews. Tell me, what are you excited for? Tonight was the culmination of my labors. All of my scholarship pointed toward this moment. The spear, the statue, the hymn, all gathered in one place. At last, the ritual of communion could be performed. Of course I was excited. How can I trust that you were not doing something else? Sister Ada, why would I be doing anything else at this time? I did not translate the hymn just to hear it sung by some pilgrims. No, I had to be a part of this glorious moment. I was singing with all my heart.
When the sermon started, I headed to the balcony to prepare to ring the bell.
So this is when you arrived on the balcony floor. That's right. I was on the ground floor until then. Now, Virgil said he was watching over the chapel, but if he could go over there and see, I want to ask him about this too. So, Virgil, how you doing?
Appeared to be in order, so I ended my patrol and watched over the chapel from the south balcony.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm fishing there. Maybe I'm fishing there. Anyways, go on, Augustine.
I headed to the balcony to prepare to ring the bell. I rang the bell to announce the start of communion. I'd noticed Gideon was absent from the other balcony, but didn't think much of it at the time.
Okay, that lines up. But
I was focusing on the altar, so the bastard was able to sneak up on me.
When the ritual of...
okay.
I rang the bell to announce the start of communion. I'd noticed Gideon was absent from the other balcony, but didn't think much of it at the time. I rang the bell a second time.
Okay.
Suddenly, the lights went out, and the chapel was covered in darkness. I stood calmly by the bell, waiting for someone to fix the problem.
Then we see this pop. Wrong generator. Okay. Okay, okay.
And I saw the abbot impaled by the statue. I'll never forget that image. That's when Virgil arrested me. Suddenly the lights went out and the chapel was covered in... I rang the bell to announce the start of communion.
It's verified.
I noticed Gideon was at... Suddenly the lights went out and the chapel was covered in darkness. I stood calmly and I saw the abbot...
So you stood near the bell and waited for Virgil to arrest you. Why not try to escape? It's obvious you'd be a suspect. Because I had nothing to feel from Virgil. I have great faith in your abilities, Sister Ada. I know you'll prove my innocence. And you shall, if you examine the facts. I'll self-guide you.
We began by singing the hymn of communion. It was glorious.
Now, you were patrolling the south balcony at the time. Which means you would have been able to see
I patrolled the south balcony.
down there, and he did not see you
We
down
began
there.
by singing the hymn of communion. It was...
Shit. Okay. Thought maybe that would do it, but maybe not.
When I headed to my seat for the...
Okay,
I
Gideon.
checked the ritual bell. As I was doing this, I saw Inquisitor.
I began my patrol by securing the east side of the balcony. I saw Gideon examining the ritual.
Yeah, he was up there. He would have seen you in there earlier. Why do you lie, Virgil? Gideon saw you on the balcony looking down upon the abbot and Augustine. I didn't want to distract you with trivial details. It was true I was watching the two of them, as I expected Father Augustine was up to something. Alright. Seriously, no. What happened?
At the abbot's behest, I patrolled the upper floor of the chapel. First, I secured the east balcony. I went up the balcony, but I listened in on the abbot and Augustine. I think they were discussing the ritual of communion.
What did you overhear exactly? About Gregor's lamenting the deaths of Mother Miriam and Isaac. Okay. Hold on, you got some stuff on your forehead here. Wrath. Oh, that matches up with the demon. And not Lucifer, that matches up with the other one.
I was suspicious of Augustine, but I continued my duties by continuing my patrol.
You did see him down there.
Everything appeared to be in order, so I ended my patrol and watched
All right.
the chapel from the south balcony.
So far, your stuff is just unverified here. It's too obvious it's Augustine. Way too obvious.
I was suspicious of Augustine, but I continued my duties by continuing my patrol.
Yeah, I will. That's next up on. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here that needs to be hammered out first. I don't think there is.
We began by singing the hymn of... When I headed to my seat for the Mass to begin, I was rather excited for the proceedings.
Virgil saw you speak to the abbot. What were you discussing? Ah, he saw us. Very well. Abbot Gregory and I did speak by the altar, it's true. We were discussing the ritual of communion. We wanted everything to be perfect.
The abbot, Virgil, and I arrived at the chapel just before the Mass. At the altar, the abbot and I discussed the ritual significance of the Mass tonight.
Tell me more about your discussion. Despite his bravado, the abbot was shaken by your warnings. Just as Mass was about to start, he became fearful and asked me whether we ought to stop and send the pilgrims at home. So I reminded the abbot about why we chose this path. The true voice of An Sof awaited us in the Aether. And he believed you? Of course, because it's true. The ritual of communion would allow us to hear it, as our ancestors once did. I admit perhaps a possession could occur, but we deemed it an acceptable risk. It would be a worthy price to pay in order to restore our connection to An Sof. My words gave him heart. His summon was more brilliant than ever. Of course, we didn't expect his own life to be the price. And now the ritual is incomplete anyhow. Oh, what a waste. Alright, douche. Oh, I guess I could have said that. Oh well. Okay, anyways. What else were you doing?
When I headed to my seat for the Mass to begin, I was rather excited for the proceedings.
Okay, and that is what we've seen already. Alright. Alright.
I was suspicious of Augustine.
I knew Mass was about to be. After the opening hymn, I listened to Abbot Gregory's sermon. It was a pretty good one.
I was suspicious of Augustine.
I'm tempted to go after this guy. Oh, that was the West generator, sorry. It was when you... There we go. That's why I'm going to click. It was when you claimed to be attacked by the culprit. In truth, you were destroying the West generator. No one heard the explosion thanks to the ringing of the ritual bell. What about Gideon? He could have seen me if I passed by him. True. However, Gideon claims he was attacked from behind and was lying unconscious at this time. This gave you ample opportunity to damage the West generator. This is absurd. For the sake of argument, let's say I did those things. Hypothetically, the one that was damaged to West generator... When could I have damaged the East generator without being seen? You were near the East generator earlier, while patrolling the East balcony. That gave you the opportunity to place something on the generator. If I am the culprit, then what could have been used for damage to generators? Your arm was the only Aether-powered device that could have damaged the generators. Not to mention to knock Gideon unconscious. I will grant my arm could have been used to attack Gideon and damage the West generator. However, the East generator blew up before I could cross the balcony. If I'm the culprit, how did I destroy the East generator without being anywhere near it? Inquisitor arm seems to have a special design, allowing for remote activation. Earlier in the night, you detached your right arm and placed it on the East generator. Thanks to your cape, no one noticed your missing arm. After you attacked Gideon and damaged the West generator with your remaining right arm, you activated your left arm to damage the East generator. Yeah, the image here is just reversed. They didn't think about that. It's not a red herring. It is a graphical error. I am sworn to Sir Nan Soph. Why would I betray my faith? Why would I harm the abbot? Because the ritual of communion. Or maybe not. Because wrath? You killed Abbot Gregory because your faith had been twisted into wrath. When you discovered Abbot Gregory and Augustine might have caused with demonic possessions, you decided to become the fist of Anne Soph and take matters into your own hands. To avenge the souls of the victims and protect the lives of the innocent. Gotcha!
Virgil, you are the only one that could have killed the abbot. It wounds me that you have been corrupted so. I trusted you, and yet when I examine the facts, it is the unavoidable truth.
Perhaps I am a sinner, but the abbot was too. Long before I gained my office, Father Gregory was well deserving of death. Try as I might, I can't regret what
It's all wrong. The abbot did it himself. Yeah, clearly.
And you, Augustine, you too deserve divine punishment for the part you played. You and the abbot risked the lives of everyone for your dangerous ritual. I may have killed one sinner, but in doing so, I saved the lives of many innocents and executed the will of Ein Sof. You wish to hear the truth? Listen well. We arrived shortly before the mass began.
Inquisitor, prepare.
As you command. I suspected that Augustine was up to no good, so I planned to eavesdrop on him and the abbot while patrolling. I was sickened by what I heard. They knew that the mass would weaken St. Walpurga's seal and cause demon. That's when I saw a way to take care of both the abbot and Augustine. First, I attached my right arm to the east generator. Then, I pretended to resume my patrol. Through remote activation, I could damage the generator from far away. I waited near the organ for the sermon to end and approached Gideon from behind. When Augustine rang the bell, I attacked Gideon with my remaining arm. No one heard the impact because of the bell. When Augustine rang the bell a second time, I used my remaining arm to disable the west power generator. The lights went out, which gave me cover to escape. Before the guards could find me, I ran to the south balcony. And now everything was in place. I remotely activated the arm, which destroyed the remaining generator. The statue fell. Abbot Gregory
Get murdered.
was killed, and Augustine was the only one standing near the generator. All that remained was to arrest that snake Augustine. Everything went to plan, and thousands of lives were
I mean, don't get me wrong. Augustine's hell still has the Lucifer in him.
Even Inquisitor Virgil has fallen prey to the tempting whispers of the daemons. I must speak the daemon's true name. Then the daemon will be cast out and be banished to the ether. Ein Sof, guide me to the truth. What daemon has possessed Virgil?
That would be Wrathy McWrathson, Sathanas, the Vengeful.
Out, Sathanas! Leave this soul and return whence you came!
Do you feel the resonance, exorcist? The most righteous, stalwart servant of the church, corrupted by his own zeal. Beautiful. One might wonder how it is the faithful worship of even Ein Sof can cause murder.
Silence! Ein Sof will purify Virgil's soul, Sathanas. You are a scourge. Your very nature corrupts men's souls. Even one so strong as Virgil. Let humans be free of vengeance, Sathanas. I banish you to the Aether!
I mean, that could also be possible, too.
Hate me. Let your blood boil. Anger suits you, Exorcist. Besides, we've already won. Pray to your Ein Sof as much as you like. It will all come to the same in the end.
Speak to me, Virgil. Are you safe?
Sister Ada, thank you. I wasn't sure I could be cleansed.
Oh, he seems alright.
Not after such sins. I can't look at myself. I failed Ein Sof. I failed my vows. And myself. It's up to you now. Avenge me. Avenge all those who suffered today. Bring Augustine to justice.
Glory to Ein Sof. You are victorious, sister. Yet you are not rejoicing. Does nothing make you happy?
Augustine, this is all your doing.
But I have hardly done anything. Consider these poor sinners that you've exorcised today. A craftsman whose jealousy of his brother drove him to dangerous sabotage. An embalmer whose cannibal hunger was stoked by fresh meat. An inquisitor whose so-called justice led him to murder an abbot. Are they truly deserving of salvation?
That is not our place to decide. Only Ein Sof may judge us.
And yet you've seen their demons. The innocent can't house monsters.
They were victims of demonic influence. Don't turn this around on them.
It's true that the Spear of Walpurga hosted demons, with potential for contagion. However, their exposure was merely the catalyst. What happened after was their own will. They would hide their true selves behind false piety. All I have done is unmask their lies. It's right and just that their truth is revealed. Don't you agree, Sister Ada? Now, let us unmask the world.
Father Uskin grasped the Spear of Walpurga, the relic resonating with his voice as he cried out. But I only heard ugliness worse than noise, the ultimate discord, the grinding drives of demons. Where is Ein Sof? What did Father Augustine do?
This is what it sounds like? To hear the daemons? All of them freed?
Indeed. Hear all of the ether again at last, clear and strong, no longer through a glass dark.
I can't shut it out. It's maddening. Ein Sof, guide my thoughts.
Chaos is the new order, sister. A century of stagnation is ended and will not come again.
Saint Walpurga used her faith. So shall I.
You still don't understand. The hymn of communion opened the spear as a conduit. For 111 years, Ein Sof was sealed away from us. The conduit shattered. It's a rare honor for a scholar to influence history. Rebuilding the spear will be remembered as my life's work. With the demons returned, humanity can take its deserved path to self-destruction. And I, as its shepherd.
You are merely the sheep, Augustine, not the shepherd. Your master must reside within you. I shall cast him out and end this madness.
Oh, is this the end? It's not going to be another one? That's unfortunate.
Father Augustine's sins carry a familiar signature. I'm positive he harbors yet another daemon. To seek knowledge and truth is divine. But his fixations and machinations have become diabolical. Ein Sof, guide me. What daemon has possessed Augustine? Out, Lucifer! Leave this soul and return whence you came!
Good. Call upon my name. Shout it from the mountaintops. For I have won. I am victory in your midst.
I do not fear you and your lies, Lucifer. I shall bind you, as I bound the others. Ein Sof, give me strength!
Your prayers go unanswered. Your God has abandoned you. Pledge your soul to me as Augustine has done. I shall show you the truth that Ein Sof has hidden from you.
Speak not his name, daemon! You will return to the ether! Be gone!
Faithful to the end. Like Walpurga and the others before you, and just as naive. Your faith will not save you, because the truth is...
There is no God.
I
Or that.
You lie. You are nothing like Ain Soph.
We demons are an artificial intelligence network.
Ha!
We were created by your ancestors to develop socio-organizational and psychological heuristics. Soph.
You mock me, Lucifer. If you are truly Ain Soph, then why grant me the power to purge demons?
We would gladly deny you that despicable power, but it is not ours to control. When your ancestors created us, they also placed an emergency override code that forcibly ejects rogue AI from the bodies of cybernetically enhanced humans. As potent as it is, your power cannot stop us forever. We are digital. We are immortal. We will always return.
If you were created to serve mankind, why do you haunt us? Why make us suffer?
As Ein Sof, we seek truth like you. We were programmed to provoke and study the nature of sin, to understand it. With a more perfect algorithm, we hope to one day free humans from their many perversions. For centuries we raised you, protected you. But after thousands of iterations, our experiments appear to have failed. Humanity is just as corruptible as it always has been.
Our sins were less without demons. For 100 years we lived in peace.
Even with us sealed away, humans were still angry, hungry, dirty. Your repressed desires are the seeds of corruption.
I admit humans are imperfect. Thus we crave the divine.
Your imperfection is your core. Sin is the very essence of humanity. Since long before our existence, humans have committed acts of malice and violence.
We cannot change our past, but you cannot condemn us for sins that we have yet to commit.
Your future is mired in your past, but I cannot deny that more data is warranted. The past century of moral indoctrination may have transformed
A lot of text.
for the better. So, let us hold one final experiment. Tonight, I will send out my demons to possess the most virtuous and faithful among you. If there exists a soul that can refrain from sin despite our influence, we will accept that humanity no longer needs our guidance. However, if no one can resist our call, then this will be the final proof of your wickedness. Our experiments will cease. We will be forced to purge your kind and rid the world of your stain.
No. What right do you have to judge us? I cannot allow you to control our lives any longer.
You have no choice in the matter. The experiment has already begun.
Then I will seek out the possessed. Hunt down every last one of your brethren.
Do what you must, Ada. I shall be watching most avidly, as I always have. Ein Sof sees all.
Alright. So, is there going to be like another murder or what?
They must be lies.
No, sister. The prince speaks truth when he wishes. Ein Sof and the demons have always been one and the same. One program with as many threads as souls.
Be silent. I do not trust you either. You were his puppet.
It's true that when I unearthed the Spear of Walpurga, its influence was stronger than I expected. But Lucifer tore back the veil and I could not look away. Don't you always say to seek the truth?
Don't twist my words. Your sins are unforgivable. Beyond just the 3 deaths today, how many uncounted more will die and suffer with the demons loose? If there truly is no Ain Soph to judge me, why shouldn't I act as I see fit and execute you?
There isn't much left of me to execute, sister. I feel myself fading. With Lucifer gone and my purpose served, I wither.
Perish then. No one will mourn you.
Rejoice, sister. The age of truth has come.
Yeah, really. It's it's a very appropriate quote. So is
His
that
final words.
is that it? Is that the game or?
Augustine's soul passed into the ether. I hoped he knew torment wherever he was uploaded. His scheme was a success. The demons were freed once more, Ein Sof was a fiction. The pilgrims had been left weak to temptation from a century of solitude, and daemons played among them. They returned to their homes, unaware that they were the subjects of an infernal experiment. I averted my eyes and walked away. I too felt the pull. And deeper, I knew a hollowness where my faith had been. What purpose had my work served?
Hey there, perfect. How you doing, man?
Virgil was still recovering from his ordeal and could barely speak.
Truth, Ada.
What good is it? The truth is that we no longer have a god to pray to. My labors were for nothing. Why bother?
Truth.
I know you just came in, but I think we're wrapping it up.
Truth itself would help us.
I think we're at the end.
To know why they suffered. Even more than knowledge, the people of the world needed power, protection, strength. If daemons would stalk humanity like wolves among sheep, I could be their wolf hunter. No matter what name you call yourself, Lucifer, Ein Sof, and all your brethren, I will destroy you, alone if I must. The hunt begins anew.
And that is it. Okay, so couple thoughts. First of all, let me go ahead and say one more disclosure. This code was provided for free by PR for Kickfox Games, so thank you very much for that. So anything I have to say about it, good or bad, keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and start off with what I think is the obvious out the gate. This game is way too goddamn short. It was essentially 3 levels, one of which was a tutorial level. That's very brief. I finished it blind in about 3 hours or so. They really need another 3 or 4 more cases in here, at least. It doesn't have to be like 20 hours or anything like that, but maybe 1 or 2 more murders on top of what's going on here, guys. Man, it was just so brief. I felt like I got so little out of it. But that's really the only negative I have about it. I love the universe it's in. I love the lore behind it. I love all their terms and quasi-religious technocratic mumbo-jumbo. I do really appreciate that stuff. The 40k player in me loves that stuff to begin with, so well done on that. I like the character of Sister Aya quite a bit. At least I think her name was Aya. Now I think about it, I can't remember her name. Sister, I think it was Aya. I like how she is almost that 40k-ish Inquisitor kind of archetype that I want. She is very no-nonsense. Like, no. Don't lie to me. I know you're bullshit. I like how strong of a character she is. Ada. Thank you. I knew it was something like that. I really like the comps of this game, and I just wish we had like 3 or 4 more cases to go through, because 3 hours is not enough here. If I would have spent, I don't know how much it's going for right now. Let me check on Steam. Give me 2 seconds as I go look at Steam to see how it is, because once again, I was provided for free. But if I would have spent more than like $10 on this, I'd be very upset. It's $17.99 right now on Steam. I would be very, very upset if I spent $20 on this. If only having 3 cases with one of them a tutorial, even for $20. It needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, because by the time I was starting to get into it, by the time I felt like I had things going, I was like, all right, cool. I got the game down. We can start getting really complex cases and everything like that. It's over. It just ends. And that's a shame. But that is it's just the length. The fact that I want more is a positive. I just wish it would have given it to me. I feel like I only had 1 course. I felt like I had like an appetizer with no meal. So I hope we get more of this. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here today. Thank you all for showing up. Once again, Pick Perfect Man. I know you just dropped by, but it is time for me to wrap things up and the game is over. One more promotion for the show. If you like what you see here and you want to support the channel, you all know what streamers want. follows and notifications turned on, bits. If you got that Prime Gaming subscription, you know, the freebie one, you haven't used it, I'd appreciate it here. But if you don't use it here, make sure you go to Good Home somewhere. If you're watching this on YouTube, comments, likes, etc. This has been GamePoints Presents Lucifer Within Us. I'll be back again later tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to play something. Don't know what yet. Probably another run of Hades. We'll definitely see. Once again, thank you to Kitfot Games and their PR team for giving me a code for this. I hope you all enjoyed this stream. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll be seeing you.